Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is Tuesday, November 26th, 8:46 a.m., and we are live once again to analyze the global capital equity markets. Folks, we got a red day. Got a little bit of a red day. Now, it's not that red if you look at certain areas and certain sectors, but in other places, it is a little red, and that is because Bitcoin is trying to make sure that Thanksgiving is not going to be fun for a lot of people. So Bitcoin right here, 92,252. Look, my voice is even cracking. It's like ready to cry as I'm announcing the price of Bitcoin. This sucker was at 99 on Friday night. All of us thought we would have a party last weekend, and it just ends up going back down. So we'll talk about Bitcoin, the implications of Bitcoin, have a bunch of different sort of like new news updates on Bitcoin itself and how that relates to the proxies. But obviously, you got MicroStrategy right here, down 5% in the pre-markets. It was a little worse right now, so it's recovering a little bit, but it's down 5%. Robinhood down about 2.14% right here. You got a lot of other stocks that are red, and we'll talk about those. Rocket Lab is red. They had a good day yesterday, so that makes sense. Marathon's down 5%. Have some new updates on that. We'll talk about it. But as you can see, the Bitcoin proxies are not happy today. Coinbase as well, down about 4%. And let's take a look at CleanSpark. CleanSpark also down about 4.75%. So you got Bitcoin down, and that's kind of hurting a little bit of the markets. The other thing that's in the news, which hurt the markets last night in the futures that we'll talk about and try to make sense of, are the Trump tariffs. Yesterday, Trump officially announced his plan via executive order to tariff not only China, not only Mexico, but also Canada. I didn't know we were tariffing Canada, but we're tariffing Canada. So you had a lot of tariffs that were announced last night in terms of this kind of broad overview. Futures didn't like it. They sinked by like 1/3%. But as we look in the pre-markets right now, the overall indices don't care that much. I mean, the S&P right here, it's green. It's up. We're up 20 bips. The Qs are up 30 bips. IWM is down 30 bips. It was down a little bit more, so it was a recovery. Obviously, small caps might not thrive if we have tariffs as much as tech and some of the larger companies. But nonetheless, the indices are actually holding up okay with the tariffs news. So we're going to talk about the implications of tariffs, what it means. Is it a bargaining tactic? Is it actually something he's going to implement? What happened in 2018 when he kind of threatened the same thing? And then if markets are giving it any level of, momentum to the upside or downside in terms of how they should interpret it. So we'll be talking about that. And then we just have a bunch of other stuff happening today. So we have retail earnings. We have Dick's that we got to talk about in the morning. We have Best Buy. We have Burlington. So we got to go through those earnings. Some of them were good. Some of them were not. Abercrombie and Fitch. We got to talk about that. And then we also have Palantir switching to the Nasdaq. So that means they're not going to the QQQ, which is where all the ETFs will buy. They're just switching exchanges. The question is, the switching of exchanges, does that implicate the price? And Palantir down from its highs yesterday. So we'll see if any of that matters as we get into the show today. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's get started with the market open. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Andy, Casey, Nolan, Zach, Ray, Tariq, Munish, Munjal. Also, it's my uncle's birthday. So let's get some W's and happy birthdays in the chat for my uncle right here. India and Canada on a crossroads. Trump and Modi partnership is working. Yeah, Modi loves him some Trump way more than Biden. But happy birthday to my uncle right here. He was just texting me this morning. Remember we were talking about Swiggy, which is like the Uber Eats of India? Or you could call it the DoorDash of India because Zomato is the Uber Eats of India. They just went public, and my uncle got in at 360 rupees per share. And currently they're at 430. They got upgraded to 580. So it's almost a double if they end up doing well. And that, that's the cool thing about being a private investor. And then ultimately your private shares transferring to the public market. So I think that's an awesome birthday gift for him. Thank you for being here, sir. Victor, Ahmad, Krupa, Killis, Martin, Astrakis, Tariq, Ray, thank you, everybody, for being here today. Indian grab, correct. It's almost like an Indian grab. Thank you guys for the birthday love as well. I'm sure he appreciates it. And happy birthday to him. Again, he's the only reason that I actually care about the stock market. All those years ago, he got me into thinking about investing. And now it's cool because now, like, he just sold his first covered call yesterday. And he's like killing it with cash secured puts, and he's like really understanding wheelies. Like, why the fuck have I not been doing this? I have all this cash and it's just sitting here. Like, why am I not selling covered calls? Why am I not wheeling? It's like, yeah, it makes sense. And if you do it on good companies that you like and you're relatively conservative with the strikes, then there is some side income that can be made. So there we go. All right, let's get started with the show. When will he be on again? Probably soon. Probably in the new year. We'll get him on in January. He's busy. He has kids and a wife and all this stuff and a demanding job, but we'll probably try to get him on in January. and get some updates on what's going on in his life and in his investing style. All right, cool. So let's start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is down. Bitcoin, we got 92,000 on Bitcoin. That is affecting all the other Bitcoin proxies. My simple analysis here, which I don't even know if this counts as analysis, is that Bitcoin's volatile. And this is something you kind of just got to go through and deal with. And look, I think 100,000 is possible. I think the White House is being as friendly of a White House as you can imagine to support the cryptocurrency industry. So the tailwinds are there, the catalysts are there. The question becomes, is the strength and the buyer momentum there after the amount of buying that we've seen over the past 2 weeks? We went from 67,000 all the way to freaking 99 after Trump got elected. So you would imagine there's going to be a little bit of a pullback. The question is that pullback going to be gut wrenching back into the 70s, or is that just going to chill out in the high 80s, low 90s, and then eventually we get back up there? Couple stats right here. So at the end of November 2020, Bitcoin got all the way to 19,850, but couldn't get over the $20,000 milestone. It consolidated for 2 weeks and then took off for the biggest gains of the cycle. Maybe this is the stage that we're in. Maybe we are going to be consolidating literally at the end of November 2020. I mean, it's almost identical to 4 years ago, where we consolidate around this kind of 85 to 92, 93,000 range. And then once you get over these 2 weeks, which would put us in mid-December, that's when you take off for the biggest gains of the cycle. That also is similar to what Michael Saylor said in terms of New Year's Eve. He thinks 100,000 is going to be happening. So, I mean, maybe that's a historical precedent for why Bitcoin tends to take its time before it officially rips higher when it gets to these levels. Another piece of Bitcoin news: Morocco has legalized Bitcoin and crypto following the ban in 2017. This is very interesting. Why is Morocco saying, hey, we like Bitcoin now, we want to encourage Bitcoin, we want to have adoption of Bitcoin? Well, I think it's because they're noticing that Donald Trump and the United States might set up a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Again, a lot of these countries across the world, they're not leaders of the planet, right? And it is what it is. They don't have the military power, GDP, economic strength, companies, etc. So a lot of times they take the lead, or they try to follow, not in every instance, but in certain instances, what other countries are doing from an economic perspective. And in one case, I really do believe that if America sets up a Bitcoin reserve, you're getting a lot of other countries across the world that are saying, all right, if the US is putting their money into this, then maybe we should. I mean, if all these countries are buying the United States' sovereign debt, why wouldn't they follow the same strategy the US is doing against Bitcoin? Because if you're willing to buy our debt, theoretically you should be willing to follow us into holding something as a strategic reserve currency if you believe the United States is correct on that assumption. Not every country is going to do it, but I think some countries will, and that could just create more buying pressure. Here's the Marathon CEO yesterday as well, talking about why people selling Bitcoin is probably not the best strategy. Here's what he had to say yesterday on CNBC.
I think what we're going to see is essentially institutions just waiting to buy up Bitcoin. You look at MicroStrategy, their $3 billion bond, they're out there buying Bitcoin very aggressively. We raised $1 billion bond at 0% coupon same week as Michael Saylor did, and we went out and acquired hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin. So lots of people are starting to do this now. And so anybody who's selling is selling into a market where there's ample demand. And I think that for the foreseeable future, we'll continue to see Bitcoin price move up, up and down, but generally the trend will be upwards.
Sorry that the volume was low on this. This was one of those clips on Twitter. But essentially what he's saying, the quote, if anyone missed it, is anyone selling Bitcoin right now is selling into a market where there's ample demand from institutions. Now, I trust the sort of Marathon thesis on this, or CEO's argument on this, because they just raised $1 billion at a 0% coupon like Michael Saylor did. MicroStrategy. And their argument is, hey, there is so much demand for Bitcoin that we are able to raise $1 billion at a 0% coupon, that if you're selling your Bitcoin right now, you are selling it into a ton of demand. Now, the sellers, especially those who don't care about Bitcoin anymore, they might be saying, yeah, you guys were selling it to because you're going to be holding the bag. And so have fun holding the bag with your 0% coupon rate, but I'm not holding on to the bag anymore. So it's going to go back and forth, and ultimately it's going to be a question of, are there enough buyers against the sellers that believe in this idea of Bitcoin and believe in kind of the leverage strategy that's taking place? Now, Kris came on the show yesterday and he talked about something that was really interesting. And I just want to summarize it real quick for those that are in the Marathon MicroStrategy trade to understand. I didn't know this yesterday, so I thought it was a good insight. That the companies that are giving MicroStrategy and Marathon 0% coupon rates, which is essentially a call option for a convertible note in 2029, right? They're also shorting MicroStrategy. And that's something I realized yesterday. It's very advantageous if you're giving the convertible note and you have this free call option that has a pretty nice strike with a 55% premium in the case of MicroStrategy, but you're also shorting it to hedge against that call option potentially not going through. And so the money managers and the hedge funds that are playing around with MicroStrategy stock, they're making sure they don't lose either way. Whereas retail investors, if you're buying MicroStrategy, your only hope is that Saylor is one step ahead of the hedge fund. By the way, Saylor knows this is happening. He wants it to happen. Saylor wants the short interest because that creates the volatility, that creates the premiums that get juicy to get people excited to sell puts, buy calls, sell calls, etc. It creates this Bitcoin treasury marketplace of options. That is what gives MicroStrategy the premium that is trading at right now. However, if you're buying MSTR, you are hoping that Saylor is one step ahead of the hedge funds that are shorting and the hedge funds that are giving him convertible notes, and he's able to get the Bitcoin yield accretive to the actual underlying dynamics of the business to be positive for shareholders. So this is what Michael Saylor tweeted just about 56 minutes ago, trying to highlight this actual argument right here, where he says, quarter to date, MicroStrategy's treasury operations delivered a Bitcoin yield of 35.2%, providing a net benefit of 88,000 Bitcoin to our shareholders, or 1,586 Bitcoin per day. At $92,000 per Bitcoin, that would equate to 8.2 billion theoretically in like revenue, if you want to like equate it to that, for the quarter so far, so in Q4, or $146 million per day. Now, again, that's not like real revenue or real profits like Microsoft or Google would announce, but that's kind of the way the market's interpreting it. And his argument is, hey, if Bitcoin goes even higher from 92,000, that yield, which is their key performance indicator, that's what TD Cohen was talking about yesterday on their MicroStrategy buy thesis, will go higher. And if it goes higher, obviously that can be good. Now, granted, if Bitcoin goes down, all of this falls apart. And I think that's the broader risk that we're dealing with when it comes to crypto. Last thing on Bitcoin, Trump is oh no, this is actually an AI thing, but it's kind of similar to the crypto thing as well. So Trump is eyeing an AI czar. Elon Musk won't be the AI czar, but is expected to be intimately involved in shaping the future of the debate and use cases, kind of like there was a border czar. He wants someone to be in charge of AI. The reason I'm saying it's related to crypto is because he's also creating a crypto czar. And one of the people that is up to potentially be that crypto czar is Brad Garlinghouse, which is the CEO of Ripple. So there's a lot of internal dynamics kind of going on in terms of how the administration is protecting and trying to advance crypto policies, the broader crypto industry. And having a crypto czar might be one of the ways to like really have this White House council be able to lobby and get Congress to vote for the policies that are pro-crypto, one of those being a strategic Bitcoin reserve that might end up happening. So that's what we got in the context of crypto, and that's what we got in the context of Bitcoin right now. Troy says, admit if you've been in crypto for 4+ years, you know what this is. You know this is what Bitcoin does. It runs up, then flushes out the leverage. After then, it runs up even higher. Yeah, and you have to have the stomach to be able to hold it if you're doing that, right? And that's why you deserve the gains, and also that's why you can potentially have the losses. But if you're tied to these proxies according to Bitcoin, then you kind of live and die by how Bitcoin performs. And that is very important. And market open later, is Palantir officially trading on the Nasdaq? I think that is correct. So let's do a quick segment on Palantir right here. I believe, if I'm not wrong, that Palantir will be trading on the Nasdaq as per market open. Palantir up a little bit right now in the pre-markets. This is the SEC form, for those that haven't seen it, signed by Alex Karp, officially signaling that they have now moved to the Nasdaq. So this is the form right here. This is to certify that on November 25th, 2024, the Nasdaq Stock Market LLC, the exchange, received from Palantir Technologies a copy of the registrant's application for the registration of the following securities: Class A common stock. We further notice that the security described above has been approved by the exchange for listing and registration upon official notice of issuance. So from my understanding, in the next 30 minutes, we're going to be trading on the Nasdaq. Now, again, we are not going into the Qs yet. December 13th, they will announce the rebalance of the QQQ ETF. I think SMCI is going to be out and Palantir is going to be in. I think, I could be wrong, but we're going to see kind of how that plays out. And then I think December 20th is the official rebalance. If we don't get in December, I think probably early next year we'll get in. But I think Palantir made this move because they knew that like we're really likely to get in. I mean, $150 billion market cap, S&P 500, just the brand momentum that Palantir has. It seems likely that we're going to get in, but that's not confirmed. And if that happens, some people are saying, is it priced in? Yeah, I think a lot is priced in right now. But there's also a shot where people say, you know what, we're getting into the Qs, we got to buy, it's going higher, and maybe that's not priced in. So that's kind of what we have going on Palantir right now. $75 price target was given by Dan Ives and Mariana. I'm still waiting for the Bank of America official report. I did a video on it yesterday where I talked about some parts of the report, but I'm waiting to get the official one. I'll post that today when I get it. Look, essentially, they believe that there's a broader story in commercial use cases and in the government use cases. That's what Mariana talked about. And that's why they're saying 75 a year from now. So, I mean, it's all going to be up to Palantir if they can continue the growth, but I think there is a decent shot that it does happen. There's also a really good thread on Palantir I'm going to read later after the bell. Someone typed it up today, and the way they kind of showed the number, it was just a very good thread of how you could justify this current level. Not saying that it's inexpensive, but how, I mean, it's kind of what I've been saying, which is that if Palantir just grows, the momentum is there, along with the margin story, which is what analysts are missing out on, that can expand, which means they don't need to grow top line revenue growth as much if they can just grow earnings per share because of the margin expansion. And they keep surprising us every quarter by increasing by 1% to 2% on adjusted operating margins, which is not easy to do. Their rule of 40 again is now 68. So it's one of those, we'll read that thread after the bell and we'll discuss it, but there are some good numbers behind their growth if they can just continue the momentum. MicroStrategy is going to enter the queues on the 20th of December. Well, they got to get rebalanced into it. Here's the thing about MicroStrategy. I don't know if it's not going on the New York Stock Exchange. It's leaving the New York Stock Exchange and going to the Nasdaq. That's you got those reversed. It's leaving the NYSE and going to the Nasdaq. The thing about MSTR is that for them to get into the Nasdaq or the S&P 500 or any of these kind of major ETFs, those committees, which are made up of people that have their own biases and ideas, they have to approve MicroStrategy getting in. I don't know if they're going to approve, like just the S&P 500, MSTR getting into the S&P 500, because that means by proxy, if you own the S&P 500, you are long Bitcoin. Now, I know Tesla has some Bitcoin on their balance sheet and other companies in the S&P 500 have some Bitcoin, but that's not, I mean, you're not long 330,000 Bitcoin, right? If you are long the S&P. But if you long the S&P and you got MicroStrategy, which would be in the top 100 or top 150 market caps, I mean, it would have a significant weighting. So you would have to buy a decent amount of it for allocation sizing. You're long Bitcoin. And I don't know if people want to be long Bitcoin if they're buying the S&P, and I don't know if the committee wants people to be long Bitcoin. So it's going to be one of those things that's very political. I think that there's going to be a point if Bitcoin gets like 120 or 130 where they can't deny them, but I don't know if that necessarily happens anytime soon. So we're going to see. We're going to kind of see how it plays out, but that's the update we have on Bitcoin and Palantir. All right, let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about tariffs. So last night, Trump announced officially the tariffs. And futures were upset about this. Now, this was funny because this was futures right after Trump announced the tariffs. And in my head, I was like, did the futures forget that Trump literally campaigned on the tariffs? Like, it's like, how are you guys red right now? Like, this guy spent a year saying, I'm going to tariff the shit out of everybody. And he finally announces it. And the futures are like, yeah, we don't like that. And it's like, okay, so why did you go up so much when he won if you knew the tariffs were coming? So now that the S&P and the NASDAQ are green in the pre-markets, I kind of think the futures reaction was a bit emotional and like they're not taking the tariffs that seriously. So here's what Trump said in particular. These were the two quotes. We will be charging China an additional 10% tariff above any additional tariffs on many of their products coming into the United States of America. On January 20th, as one of my first executive orders, so that's how he plans to do this, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada. I really didn't know Canada was going to be part of this, but Canada is part of it. A 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders. Futures went down 0.3% based on the idea that this would create more inflation. Now, here's what I'm thinking about this. I think there's a lot of elements to it, but I think one thing that Trump's doing right now, notice that he says, or he further goes into, there's a long Truth Social post, but he further goes in to say, these tariffs will be in place until Mexico takes control of their legal immigration or illegal immigration, and China stops the amount of fentanyl that is crossing the border. And so part of me is thinking, I think part of the market is thinking, oh, Trump's not really going to enforce all these borders or all these tariffs. What Trump is trying to do is fulfill a campaign promise by using tariffs as a negotiation tactic. What was the major campaign promise? The campaign promise was that, hey, we are going to stop illegal immigration and we're going to stop the spread of drugs across the border. And maybe his argument here is that if I threaten China, Canada, and Mexico enough, these guys will give me what I want. Maybe that'll work. Maybe that won't work. What are some bear cases to this? Well, what if China says, yeah, screw you. We're coming back with our own tariffs, right? Which is what happened in 2018. And the resolution in 2018, people forget, it was the trade war was resolved on the idea that China would buy more agriculture from the United States. They did not do that over the past 5 years. That didn't happen. And so I think Trump's kind of pissed off because he's like, dude, like we stopped in 2018 because you said you would buy more agriculture. That hasn't happened. So I think there's a lot of different dynamics here. I don't know exactly how they're going to get this done with Mexico, Canada, and China, but there is a way they will do it. And if it's successful, then maybe it's not as inflationary and maybe it creates more revenue and decreases illegal immigration, which is probably net good for the economy, net good for the broader, American country. Or this backfires badly and all three of them are just like, screw you, we're tariffing back, we're not going to pay these tariffs, blah, 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 we're going to stop trade. And then potentially, you have not only a trade war, but you have a trade kind of stagnation where no one's doing business because no one can agree on the tariffs. And so I think that's going to be very, very important to kind of figure out. I am purposely mispronouncing Canada. Obviously it's Canada, dude. I'm kidding. Goodness gracious. It's a joke. This motherfucker needs to get more sleep. Did anyone really think it was Canada? It's Canada, dude. It's Canada. It's Canada. It's if anyone from Canada is upset that I said Canada, you are not being Canadian because you're supposed to be nice to everyone. Okay, so even if someone mispronounces your country, you're supposed to be welcoming. That's what makes you guys so important. I'm just so impressed you can pronounce Canada that way many times in a row. How do you not mess it up? Yeah, that's what I was trying to like not say Canada, but I think I did pretty good saying it the wrong way. It was actually, ironically, I said it the way I wanted to say it, which is the wrong way, without saying it the right way, which is actually harder than saying it the wrong way when you know how to say something. So it's Canada versus Canada. Sure, quick save. Yes, that's me actually saving the fact that I didn't know it was Canada. No, but in all seriousness, these tariffs are probably going to be something that matters. And I think the street's trying to figure out exactly how do we react to it and how do we navigate what the tariffs will look like. Let me pull up a little bit of a clip on some analysis here on tariffs, and then we can keep going from there. We've got some other headlines, but this is definitely something that the street's trying to figure out. How do we rationalize this? What's going to happen? And what is the implication for inflation? Real quick, before we watch this, CME Fed tool for rate cuts are at, where are we at? 59.40. All right, so we went to 60.40. Interesting. So even with the threat of tariffs, the market is thinking, hey, it's still a 60% chance we're going to get that rate cut. And again, people would think we shouldn't get the rate cut if tariffs are going to be inflationary, but the market's not thinking of that. For the January meeting, it is a 12% chance right now that we're going to get a rate cut. So January looks like the market's thinking maybe there's a pause unless we get a rate cut again. December meeting looks like it's going to be about 60%, even if we have more tariffs.
Over a 10-year window. So it's unclear where that $1 trillion is coming from. Listen, yes, get rid of the penny. Yes, get rid of the nickel. But literally, those are pennies and nickels when it comes to the amount of money that the government spends. These are all really, really good ideas. But until you start dealing with the major drivers of the deficit, which is the discretionary budget, the mandatory spending programs, you're not going to get any real change here.
Well, so that's the big question, though. So let's talk about some of that. I mean, we also maybe add to it the defense budget. Could you go from $800 billion to $700 billion and make that work, given that they have not, completed an audit successfully now in a very long time? Is there remarkable amount of waste there, for example? I don't know.
No, you should know, because there is a remarkable amount of waste. But your question is, can you go from 800 to 700? And the answer is no. We weren't able, when we first came to office in 2017, when I wrote the first budget, to even get the rate of growth in the Defense Department to slow. That's considered a cut in Washington, D.C. If you spent $100 last year and you only spend $103 this year, they call that a cut because they expect to spend $105. So this is great. I love it. Look, I'm so excited about it. I can't tell you. I wish that we had this sort of energy in 2017.
Mick Mulvaney, for those that don't know, was the director of the Office of Management and Budget in Trump's first administration. And he's talking about the benefits of DOGE because he thinks there's actually a chance that we could reduce some spending if they do the right job.
But Congress was one of our major impediments. When I had my 2017 budget before the president, I had a high-ranking Republican senator tell him, Mr. President, no one's ever lost their job in this town for spending too much money. They have lost their job for not spending enough. So I hope the attitude in Congress has changed. Clearly, Trump is committed to this, and I think that's fantastic. But unless everybody in Washington, D.C. is interested in spending less, it's going to be very, very difficult to do.
What do you make of this tariff proposal that we were just seeing in the last 24 hours. The idea of implementing 25% tariffs against Mexico and Canada as well, 10% more to China to try to stop fentanyl, try to stop illegal immigration. You see that as a negotiating tactic. You see that, I imagine it is a negotiating tactic, but you see that as a successful negotiating tactic. Do you think it would ever be implemented?
Well, it has been in the past. We used threats of tariffs to get the Chinese to buy more soybeans from us back in 2018. There's how I look at it. As I think that when it comes to folks like Mexico, Canada, Europe, the tariffs are mostly looking for leverage, a way to get leverage. Donald Trump is the best I've ever seen at creating leverage where none exists. That doesn't say they won't go in, but I think the motivation behind them is to get leverage. On China, it's a little bit different. In China, I think the idea behind the tariffs is more to actually drive our policy to sort of compete with them. So I think that you have to take it a case by case circumstance, country to country, good by good. But yeah, Donald Trump is going to use tariffs. It's one of the tools available to any president of the United States to try and get their policies enacted, or at least assisted by other countries. So I fully expect this to be front and center of the Trump playbook for the next 4 years.
All right, so let's see what you guys think. Let's put a poll in the chat right here. Tariffs, inflationary or not? And when I say inflationary, if you say yes, it's like we're going to get some bad inflation that J-Pow is going to be upset with, or no, as in we'll get a little inflation maybe here and there, but it's not necessarily going to ruin the broader economy or the momentum in the markets. Let's see what people think. I don't know, dude. I have no idea. If it's a bargaining aspect, then maybe there's going to be some light inflation here and there. If it's a wide-scale policy where everything is tariffed, then yeah, I think we're definitely going to get some inflation. I think the markets are going to have to figure out, where's the 10-year right now? Is the 10-year up on this tariffs headline? Yeah, it's up slightly, 4.296. It was 4.275 yesterday. It's down from 4.45 a couple weeks ago, which is good. But you got the 10-year definitely inching higher as people are selling off those bonds, thinking that we might have some more inflation from tariffs. Okay, 57% of you say yes, 43% of you guys say no. So 57% of you feel that tariffs will be more inflationary than not. I think we're going to have to figure it out over the next few months. I don't think it's going to come in the next week or the next 2 weeks, or even by January 20th to kind of see what the impact of it is. But the market's going to price in something, and we're going to have to figure out how the market is thinking of it. Is the market pricing in the rate cut? Yes. In my opinion, the December rate cut is definitely priced into the market. If we don't get that rate cut, I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world. I like what? If the S&P is at 6,000 at the end of the year, does the S&P go back to like 550? I don't think so. I don't think we get a 10% decline. Do we get back to like 585? Yeah, I think that could happen. I do think the S&P can be higher than 6,000 towards the end of the year, given some of the momentum we're seeing and some of the, the earnings that have turned out to be really good. By the way, we'll talk about Nvidia in a second because I have a lot to say on that. I did some research on it last night. Want to show you guys some stuff. But in general, if we don't get the rate cut, yeah, I think we'll get a little bit of a pullback. But if we do get the rate cut, I don't think we have to go higher. But given the momentum in the market, I think we could go higher because people are ready. But the people are taking money out of their money market funds, right? Other high yield savings accounts that are getting at that point maybe 4%. And they're like, you know what? It's time to bet on some of the most amazing companies in the world in the United States. And they might start investing a little bit more. Bitcoin right here below 92,000. We hit 91,400. We have not seen 91,000 since November 19th. So since 7 days ago. But these 7 days were so fun. It was like a little roller coaster. We rode it all the way up. We're just chilling at the top of the roller coaster. And then we came down. By the way, do you guys know in Jackson, New Jersey, where King Dakar, which is the largest the highest roller coaster ever, 456 feet in the air, 120 miles per hour. They're closing down the roller coaster, which is sad. But in 2011, I went on the roller coaster. I went all the way to the top, like literally at the top. And then we came all the way back down in reverse order. So we weren't able to get above the top. It was one of the coolest things and scariest things ever. But imagine just being 500 feet in the air, like paused, and then you just fall back down. So that was really cool. That was awesome. But it kind of feels like that's what we're doing with Bitcoin, right? We got all the way to the tippy top, almost at that 100,000. And now we're just coming right back down. And the question's ultimately going to be, can we get above the hump? And can we kind of solve the overarching problem that currently exists right there? All right, so that's what we have in the context of tariffs. We'll talk more about that as the market opens, kind of see how the market prices that in, but that's the update from last night. Market kind of doesn't really care about it, doesn't love it, doesn't hate it. I think they're still waiting for more details to see if it is going to be important. Let's talk about Nvidia. So Nvidia was down 4% yesterday, again, because of this thing that Amazon released, or this article that Bloomberg released that said, hey, NVIDIA's chips are going to come under threat because Amazon and Google are building these TPUs. And as a result, you should be a little nervous of what NVIDIA is doing and if their growth can continue to last. I think that was one reason NVIDIA is down. NVIDIA is up a little bit in the pre-markets right now, but there's another reason I talked about yesterday for why NVIDIA was down. And my thesis, and it was kind of just like a sort of theory I had, was that there's money shifting from the semi sector to the software sector. So semis to software. And I said that yesterday, kind of just like off the whim of like, okay, well, so Salesforce is going up, NVIDIA is going down, Snowflake's going up, TSM's going down. Maybe there's a little bit of a transition from people saying, all right, we were investing in the thing that was building all the shit we needed to make AI. Now we're going to invest in the stuff that's actually like giving us use cases of AI. And then I did a little research, and it wasn't really hard research, but I mean, it's if you look at it, I think the thesis kind of has some merit to it. SMH, the semiconductor ETF, over the past month, down 3%. So semis are down 3%. IGV, the software sector ETF, up 15%. So when I saw this last night, again, it wasn't like the most in-depth research in the world. I kind of just looked at the returns for semis versus software. I think it is obvious money has rotated from semis into software. Now, semis year to date are still outperforming 44%. Software year to date was underperforming dramatically. Now it's beating the S&P and the Qs at 34%. I am very curious until the end of the year, will software actually flip semis? Because if software gets to 40% and semis kind of goes down to 35, or software goes to 45 and semis goes down to 40, then that will be, I think, a definitive argument that the market is believing that they don't want to be long the picks and shovels of the AI revolution, which are the semiconductor names. They want to be long the applications of it. And it's a really weird transition to do, I guess, in Q4. I mean, Q3 is the most cyclical for the semi, so it makes sense that the semiconductor earnings for a lot of companies weren't the best. The TSM and Nvidia killed it regardless. But the other ones were lacking. I mean, ASML, I remember I was in India in October. ASML tanked. I mean, this is the tank right here. Well, let me go out more than 1 month. 3 months. Yeah, this was the tank right here. I remember I was getting ice cream in India. It was $875, and then it tanked all the way to $685. Nvidia was down 7% that day. Look, right now it's at $684. It tanked to $685. It's been almost 2 months, still at $684. It was because 50% of their backlog disappeared. Like the street was expecting 50% more than they reported. So I think maybe there's an argument right here that semis are going to software. Now the question becomes, does that mean you sell off Nvidia? I don't think so. I think Nvidia's growth is phenomenal. I think if there's any semis that you sell off, it's other names outside of Nvidia, because we know they're going to do close to $40 billion in revenue. We know the gross margins are still above 70%. We know that they're one of the cheapest Mag 7s on a PE basis. I mean, Tesla is way more expensive than Nvidia for the growth that they're putting up. Tesla might have more potential currently right now, given what's happening with robotics, which, by the way, we have an update on in a second. But I don't think this is a sell the Nvidia news. I think this is, hey, maybe you don't go super long semis, but that doesn't mean you get rid of Nvidia. The question is, if you're not long semis, does Nvidia just fall by default? Can Nvidia independently go up while the rest of the semiconductor market stays flat or goes down? I think we're gonna have to figure out. But maybe that dip ends up getting bought up because people are super excited to get into the semis cheap. I mean, look, if Nvidia goes to 100, I'm a buyer. If Nvidia goes to 115, I'm a buyer. I think a lot of people would be buyers here. So I think there's a floor to Nvidia stock given their growth, momentum, brand, etc. That's going to make it hard to get hit. What software stocks are attractive? Well, that's a good question. If we look at the software list right here, a lot of them at these valuations aren't that attractive, to be honest. I mean, a lot of them have started to run over the past couple of months. Oracle is up 50%. Palantir, obviously, I believe it's expensive, but Palantir has gone up a lot. So the institutions, I think, are buying Palantir a lot more. Palantir would be the name I love out of all these, obviously, but it is expensive. But all the other ones are expensive as well. It's not like a lot of these are. CrowdStrike's not cheap at $363. Adobe's not cheap at $518. Salesforce is definitely not cheap at $340 after recovering from $212. So it's like a lot of the software names have also gone up, which begs the question, do people sell some software and get back into semis if semis take a massive dip? I think the ebb and flows of navigating these two sectors are going to be really important to keep an eye on. And ultimately, we're going to have to see kind of how the market interprets it. What type of ice cream was it? I think it was like a fudge sundae or something. It was one of those types of ice cream. I don't really eat ice cream that much. I used to like ice cream a lot when I was little. I'm not a big ice cream guy anymore. But yeah, I was just eating ice cream, and then boom, I see ASML tanking, and I'm like, what is going on right here? Why is this happening? All right, I have a missed call from somebody who wanted to call into the show, so let's bring them up. Let's see if they can pick up, and let's see if they can share some thoughts with everybody. Let's see. I think it was Gianni's, bro. I think that was the store. I think it was Gianni's. Now dude, this guy, you missed one call from him, and then he never picked I need 5 minutes. Okay, so we'll call him after the bell. It was Steve. Steve obviously has some thoughts about Palantir getting $75 price target. So we'll talk to him. He doesn't like ice cream because it reminds him of mayo. Look, low key. Not gonna, you know what I hate? I hate soft ice cream. I hate soft ice cream because it melts, and then it melts and it kind of looks like soup, and then it reminds me of like mayo. There's all this like I can't do soft ice cream. I'm not gonna say what type of ice cream I do like because the jokes are gonna be too much, but I can't do soft ice. Like soft serve, I hate soft serve because it just feels like you're eating mayo. It just melts, and then I'm like, well, this is not attractive. This is like I need actual other types of ice cream that are not soft. Soft serve is not money. All right, so that's what we had. That's just a milkshake. Yeah, exactly. If I wanted a milkshake, I would just drink it, right? So that's what we had in the context of tariffs and in the context of the software sector for Nvidia and what that means for the broader semiconductor market. Here's a couple other headlines I want to go through right now. So let's talk about earnings, right? Let's talk about Tesla because Tesla's more exciting than earnings. So remember last week when I said Kim Kardashian getting a Optimus means that Tesla is getting ready to unveil something with Optimus? Again, kind of a gut feeling I had. I don't think you give Optimus to a celebrity like that unless you have some plan. Well, take a look at what Tesla tweeted today. Tesla Japan, coming soon, and there's a silhouette of Optimus. It looks like Tesla's beginning a little bit of a tease for Optimus in different parts of the world. Now, Japan is really interesting. Why is Japan interesting? I think all of you guys can figure it out in like 2 seconds if you know anything about Japan. Japan has the largest elderly population in the world. There is a massive caregiving market for Japan. In fact, Sompo Holdings has a subsidiary that works with Palantir just to work in the care centers for elderly adults. And there's this awesome video from 2 years ago about Palantir like tracking people's sleep via Foundry and being able to like know if they're getting enough sleep or not enough sleep based on the ontology and figuring out if they're taking the right drugs or not. Like there's some really innovative stuff that's happening there. But I think Optimus in Japan makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And it would be one of the perfect places to test Optimus. Again, this is not the enterprise use case. This is like the consumer use case. But if it is a place to see, hey, do we have some momentum inside of a place that obviously needs Optimus? Can we scale operations here and then eventually get Optimus into the United States? And then you got another piece of news by Tesla. I think Q4 is going to kill it. I really think Q4 is going to kill it. Now buyers who buy a Tesla via a referral code, just like I did, I got $500 off my Tesla and the person whose referral code I used got $500. Now you get $2,000 off the price of the vehicle if you buy with a referral code, and the referrers get $1,000 when someone uses your referral link. So you've got Optimus that's starting to get teased a lot more. You've got Q4 that already offers 0% APR, which, by the way, I looked at a lot of their car companies last night just because I want to see who's doing 0% APR. No one's doing it. Maybe I didn't, get all of them, but Honda, Kia, Toyota, everyone's doing 3 to 4% APR. Like 0% APR is actually a very, very good deal, especially because it's a Tesla. Like a Tesla is one of the most amazing cars ever. So you can getting 0% APR on that without having to buy FSD is amazing. And now you're getting $2,000 off just for using someone's link. I think there's an argument that Q4 we get to 500,000 deliveries. Now, last time we got 463. I think more likely we get to 480. If we break 500K deliveries in Q4, I think that's bullish for Tesla. And I think that quells some of the fears that the street has about tariffs and about the EV tax credit going away. And hopefully that's good. Now, the other piece of news last night, so I mentioned some good stuff. There was some bad stuff. Apparently, the California governor, Gavin Newsom, is creating a new EV tax credit to go against what Trump is doing by getting rid of the $7,500 tax credit. And unfortunately, he is excluding Tesla from it. And this is confirmed. So his office told Bloomberg News that the current proposal includes market share limitations that would exclude Tesla's popular EV models. The details, including Tesla's possible omission from the credits, will be negotiated with the state legislator and could change. It's about taking the market, and a quote from this office, it's about creating the market conditions for more of these car makers to take root. According to the governor's office, it wasn't immediately clear if other automakers would be excluded. That is why Tesla was down 4%. Let me see where Tesla is right now in the pre-markets. That was pretty wild to see that yesterday. Tesla right here up a little bit, recovering from that down 4%. So essentially, Newsom is saying, hey, the way I'm interpreting it, I want Rivian and Polestar to get more sales, and therefore we're going to exclude Tesla to disincentivize people to get whatever, $7,500 off in California from buying an EV, aka buying a Tesla, because we want them to buy other EVs. I don't know how that's legal. I don't know if they're going to be able to get it passed through the courts. I don't know if Tesla's going to negotiate with them. The sad thing about this is Elon's response was, wait a second, Tesla's the only manufacturer in California that's left that's producing EVs. So like, this is only going to hurt Tesla jobs. This is only going to hurt their incentives to stay in California. I mean, like, this is just not the best thing in terms of the relationship between Tesla and the state of California. So we'll see how the market reacts to it. Again, yesterday, the market was not happy with that. It was down 4%. But then again, the market wasn't happy when Trump was saying he was getting rid of the $7,500 tax credit. Then they got over it. So I kind of do think it's, kind of an emotional sell the news, but the market doesn't care too much. And eventually they'll rebound because they care about the long-term thesis, especially with autonomy. But that is one of the things, or one of the reasons why Tesla was down. Oh yeah, Rivian. So Rivian's up 8% right now. Rivian just got a $6 billion deal from the government. Rivian's up 7.28%. So speaking of motivating other companies to start creating EVs, Rivian, what is the exact headline? Let me just find it real quick. Rivian got a grant by the government for $6 billion to set up a new plant in, is it Illinois? Where is it? 6.6 billion conditional loan. Oh, it's a loan. It's not a grant from the DOE to expand EV production. I don't know what state this in, but it's not in California. Oh, in Georgia. It's in Georgia. Okay, so they were up 11% yesterday. Now up 6% right now. I still don't like Rivian because all the grants that they're getting is irrelevant to me if they can't get a gross profit on their cars. They're nowhere close to getting there. Like if they were close, I would be a little bit more sympathetic. They are nowhere near close to getting there. And if the $7,500 tax credit goes away, that only hurts them more. So I like that they're getting money and that they're able to use this money to grow and bolster the balance sheet and protect shareholders in case anything happens. But I don't like that they're not getting profitable. And I don't know when they're going to get profitable. And if you look at their unit economics compared to Tesla, it's abhorrent. It's disgusting. Like it's not good. So I think we're going to kind of have to see if Rivian can actually manifest themselves into like realistically being a big boy EV company, or if they're going to keep relying on grants. Because until then, it's hard to get excited about Rivian. Yes, it's a loan. It's not a grant. It is a loan. Yes, it's Illinois, not Illinois. I know I said it wrong. Usually I say it right, but it's Illinois, not Illinois. I've been to Illinois once in 2015. Haven't been there since. So definitely have to go there again. JG says Tesla has been known to employ 20,000 to 30,000 people in California. Yeah, and like I think that's why the street's upset, because they're like, wait a second, Tesla is one of the biggest companies in California. Why are you doing this to them? It kind of feels political. Yeah, I guess we'll see kind of how the courts resolve it and if this actually goes through. I kind of feel like it's not going to happen. I don't think they can legally exclude Tesla. Maybe there's some loophole they can do, but I think, there might be a way Tesla gets included in that EV credit. All right, folks, we got 30 seconds until the market opens. We got Bitcoin that's ruining Thanksgiving right now at 92,000. Someone on the market close yesterday said something really funny. Imagine you have a girlfriend. She walks in, you're looking at Bitcoin down at like 70,000 because it's tanking. And she's like, honey, it's a Black Friday sale. Why are you freaking out? I would lose my mind, bro. I was like, did you just say it's a Black Friday sale? So I really hope we don't get a Black Friday sale for Bitcoin, because it's time for this thing to move forward. And it's just teasing us at this point. 99.7 was where we got to over the weekend. Saylor bought 5 billion of it a while ago. And now we just got to see kind of how this plays out. 9:30 a.m. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. Let's get into it. Rivian is up 4%, 1208. Tesla up 0.62% at $340.22. Nvidia opens up 1.4% higher than yesterday. So Nvidia was down about 4% yesterday. Now Nvidia up 1.65%. S&P is green, even with the tariffs. S&P is green. The Qs are green, up 1/3%, even with the tariffs. they are green. Palantir right here down about 1%, 64.18. IWM is down. The tariffs are not the best for small caps, and I think that's why small caps are down. 240 down about 0.5%. CleanSpark 7% down. Coinbase 4% down. Marathon 6% down. MicroStrategy 5% down. All the Bitcoin proxies getting hit because Bitcoin is at 91,725, down about 2.4%. Robinhood holding up okay above 37. I mean, it is incredible strength holding above 37 at 37.38. I expected this guy to be down at 36 yesterday. Maybe we get there today. Maybe we stay above, but there it is showing some pretty strong strength at 37.39, even with Bitcoin going down from 91 all the way, from 99 or 97 all the way to 91. From yesterday. Rocket Lab right here, 24.18. Rocket Lab is slightly green, up about 1%. They had a big day yesterday. ASTS is down about 1%. Enovix is down 2%. Kohler Technology, this battery company that was up 70% yesterday, they're up another 8% today. Meta is up 0.5%. Zoom had earnings. They're down 8%. They beat on the top and the bottom. We'll talk about all the retailers that had earnings in just a bit. Zoom is down 8% on, I would imagine, lower growth guidance, because the growth already quarter to quarter is only 1%. So I guess they didn't have the best growth guidance, and that's why Zoom is down. Amazon's up a little bit. Lockheed Martin's up a little bit. They were down 4%. SoFi, 15.52. SoFi not getting over that $16 hump yet, but down about 1.2%. HIMS is down 2%. HIMS was up almost 25% yesterday, so it makes sense. HIMS is taking a little bit of a breather, but HIMS getting back everything they lost from Amazon, saying that they were going to eat Hims's lunch. Enphase 7023, that's down about 2.4%. Tesla goes green, up 0.5%. Nvidia, nice recovery, up 2.2%. Looks like at 135, the dip buyers came in and they said this is stupid. Palantir recovering a little bit as well at 64.54. Where's Grab? Grab, I did buy like 50 shares of Grab yesterday. 522 on Grab. Actually, it was 100 shares of Grab yesterday. Bought it at 513 was when I bought it yesterday. 520 now, up 1.28% on Grab. Again, I would buy more if it goes into the 450s, but it was down 10% already from last week, so didn't know if there's that much downside left. But if it goes to 450, that's when I get more excited to buy the dip. Look at the S&P. It's trying to get to 6,000, bro. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Even with the fear of tariffs, the market was so afraid of it yesterday, and we saw that in the futures. Now the market kind of doesn't care. Either they don't believe it or they actually think tariffs might end up helping the United States to some extent. Tesla right here up 1.24%. Tesla getting back a lot of what it lost yesterday after that California news came out. Robinhood 37.65. Again, hood strength is incredible. This is why I picked this stock as my Bitcoin proxy, because when Bitcoin collapses, it goes down, but it does not go down at the level of the proxies that are literally tied to the success of Bitcoin. Bitcoin could go away tomorrow. That would hurt Robinhood. That does not destroy Robinhood as business. All the other proxies are gone tomorrow if Bitcoin's gone. And so that's why I like this stock. It has a crypto catalyst, but does not have massive crypto downside if Bitcoin is struggling a bit. Palantir goes green, 64.73. You're up about 0.09%. Again, we are on the Nasdaq exchange now. We are not in the queues yet. December 13th, we'll know, and then maybe December 20th, we get rebalanced. But Palantir is green right here, 64.71. Archer down about 2% after being up 30% yesterday. SoFi, 15.71. SoFi just went green, which is amazing. SoFi right here is green. Where is Rocket Lab? Rocket Lab, wow, 6% on Rocket Lab, 25.39. Oh my, Rocket Lab is not slowing down, dude. They had some successful launches. They got a government contract yesterday. $12 billion market cap. Again, conventionally 34 times price of sales. Yeah, it's expensive, but 12 billion is not a lot to people that think there's a potentially $1 trillion TAM for space. So you got people that are just buying in and they don't care anymore. And it's not a penny stock anymore, which also gets people excited. IGV is up 0.5% right now. That's the software sector. SMH is up 1%. All right, so SMH getting a little bit more of a recovery from where it was yesterday. Reddit 144, CrowdStrike 364. They have earnings today after the bell. That's going to be very important. Earnings after the bell today on the close. And then we'll get into earnings that we had just this morning. We are going to be looking at CrowdStrike, Dell, HP, Workday, Autodesk, and Nutanix. A lot of tech companies, very important. Dell and HP on the server side for Nvidia. I'm curious if they say anything about business they're getting from SMCI. That's going to be important to look at. And then CrowdStrike in the cybersecurity space. SMCI is down 6%. Why is SMCI down 6%? Why does this thing go up and down so much? Is there any news on SMCI? Let's see. Nope. People are just saying it's technical. No headlines, no news. People are saying it's more technical than anything. SMCI right here, down a little bit. right now. Rocket Lab, 52-week high, incredible, absolutely incredible. Rocket Lab right here, 25.62. Congrats to those that are in this. Rocket Lab right here, 52-week high, up 7% on the day. Tesla, 342, going green again. Nvidia trying to go back to 140, up 2.14%. S&P again trying to get 6,000. And Palantir, look at that, back to 65. Back to 65. The momentum on this stock is just absolutely incredible. It is really incredible. $65. I mean, we hit almost 68 yesterday. Holding up these levels. There are buyers. They're absolutely coming in. Tariff schmariff. Yeah, exactly. The market's basically saying tariff schmariff right now. So that's what we got in the context of Palantir. Dell also down, but actually be happy if it ran a little cold into earnings. Yeah, Dell has run a lot into earnings, so I think downside is higher than upside, especially because their operating margins are like less than 5%. So if those, and last time on the PR, we opened it together, they didn't even put it in the press release. Like you have to dig through the 10K to find the operating margins because they know how bad they are, because these businesses don't have good margins. They're hardware business. They have a lot of growth because you have GPU growth, but you don't have good margins because they're hardware. That's why Nvidia is so special, because they're able to pull off 70% margins. So I think that's going to be the interesting point on Dell. If they can show any margin improvement, even though they've run, I think the street would get excited. Robin had just turned green for a second, 37.86 right now at 37.83. Pretty incredible for Robinhood. Wow, Rocket Lab 26, new 52-week high after the new 52-week high, new all-time high within a couple minutes. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing for Rocket Lab. Is Bitcoin pumping? Okay, we're back to 92, which is nice. We were at 91.4, now we're at 92.5, so that's helping. That is absolutely helping. Jed says I need a double to $1 million on Rocket Lab. All right, so you need Rocket Lab basically 50 to get $1 million. Look at 50. What's the market cap? 24 billion? I mean, look, given their current financials, I feel like 24 billion would obviously be expensive. But if they can keep growing triple digits, remember, Rocket Lab is guiding for 125 to 135% growth in Q4, and they're not profitable yet. And you know what happens in the stock market when a company gets profitable and they actually have a big following and they have momentum and there's excitement. Stocks tend to go a little higher because now the street thinks that they're a real company. So profitability along with triple digit growth, I think that can definitely help Rocket Lab going over the next couple of months. Robinhood, again, just turned green for a second at 37.91, now at 37.84. Riot is down 4%. Grindr was at 15.90 in the pre-markets. Grindr right now at 15.14. Oaklow's up 3%. Procter & Gamble up 0.5%. And then Apple right here. Wow, 234 on Apple. Who the hell is buying Apple? Who's buying Apple at 234? When Vision Pro was a flop, no one's buying the iPhone 16. No one cares about Apple Intelligence. And they're not even upgrading the AirPods Maxes. I have the answer. The answer is in passive index funds. The flows from passive index funds towards the end of the year are going into Apple, and that's what's keeping Apple elevated. I don't really know people that are buying Apple stock outright and paying a 31 times PE for 0% growth. But nonetheless, it is Apple, and Apple can buy back all their stocks. So Apple right here at 234. And again, it's just hard to short or bet against Apple because they're Apple. So I am waiting for Apple's major 2025 like pivot or announcement or something that shows that there is the next era of S-curves, whether it's robots, whether it's TVs, whether it's cars. That's probably not going to happen, but something, because it's not Vision Pro, at least not yet, and it's not the iPhone 16. So I think 2025 is going to be a big year for Apple to actually announce some stuff. Gold is slightly down today. Gold yesterday had its worst day since 2021. It was down 3.45%. So you had the market kind of rotate out of gold yesterday, and we saw one of the worst days for gold. Now it's had a really good year, up almost 35%. But it's one of the worst days they had since 2021. Domino's right here up about or down about 0.5%. Nike's down 0.5%. PayPal down about 10 bips. Target down 1.86% as well. Where's Walmart? The tariffs news is not the best for Walmart and Target. Walmart's up and Target's down. There's a massive divergence between how the street thinks of Walmart. Walmart new all-time high. Target continues to go down after earnings at 128, down about 2% right now. Your answer for Apple is most likely Texas funds. Yeah, that is fair. Apple is also buying Apple, the Dow Jones. There's a lot of people at the end of the day buying these ETFs and index funds that give more flows into Apple. Now, granted, if you've had Apple for a long time and you're averaging up, I think that's fair because it's Apple and you're able to maintain a pretty large position for a company that's not going anywhere. But if you're like, who's freshly buying Apple at 234? Who wakes up tomorrow and is like, I want to start an Apple position of 1,000 shares at 234? Like, I'm wondering who's doing that. Legitimately, like what hedge fund is like, we need to get into Apple? Like, I don't think so. I mean, just because bananas are selling for 5 million doesn't mean apples are worth 5 trillion. That was good. That was good. Anyway, I don't know if anyone's really starting an Apple position. All right, let's go to the earnings we had today because we had a lot of earnings. and let's take a look at how they beat on the top and the bottom, and if they actually had any momentum in the stock itself. So Abercrombie, let's take a look at ANF right here. Abercrombie, 250 versus 235 EPS. That's a beat. Revenue 1.2 versus 1.18 billion. That's a beat. Let me know in the chat if you actually shop at Abercrombie. I shopped there when I was like 12. I don't shop there anymore. Abercrombie is down 4%. Now, Abercrombie was up a lot going into this print. Year to date, it is up 62%. So it kind of makes sense that it's taken a little bit of a hit. But what do we take away from this? Consumers still have money to spend. I mean, if you're buying overpriced jeans at Abercrombie, that means you have some money to spend. So consumers do have some money, or they're running up their credit card debt, whatever it is, people are spending, and Abercrombie is getting some of the benefit from that. Analog devices beat 167 versus 164, 2.4 billion versus 2.41 billion. Their stock is up 2.26%, $113 billion company. We don't talk about this one too much, but we should talk about it a lot more. They also have a dividend yield of 1.61%, but they're up 2% on a beat on the top and the bottom line. Kohl's, they had a nasty miss. 20 cents EPS, they missed. 3.5 billion versus 3.7 billion in revenue, they missed. The only reason I go to Kohl's is to return stuff to Amazon. Kohl's is down 19% on the day. So Kohl's is taking it on the chin right now. But yeah, I mean, look, outside of getting people to return their stuff at Amazon's, Kohl's, for those that don't know, internationally is like a retail department store in the United States. They're just not that popular and not really getting that much foot traffic. And then we got Dick's right here, 275 versus 269, 3.05 billion versus 3.03 billion. So Dick's had a pretty phenomenal earnings right here. Dick's is up 0.31%. It was up more in the pre-markets. It was up like 2%. And Dick's year to date has been a good stock this year. Look at this, 47%. It's outperforming most of the Mag 7. Dick's. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought Dick's would be up almost 50% year to date? But that's what we got in the context of Dick's. And the last one we had is Best Buy, that also had a little bit of a nasty earnings. Miss on the EPS, 126 versus 129, 9.4 billion versus 9.6 billion. Now, look, Best Buy was having a good year as well. Best Buy is down 8% right here. There is a whole AI angle to how they're actually using AI to make their store more efficient from some of the research I've done on them. I don't own this name. They're up 10% year to date. They were up almost 20 to 25%. They have a nice 4% dividend, $17 billion market cap, PE of 14. And look, the numbers were not the best, but it's not like the numbers were the worst in terms of the misses. I mean, you got a 3-cent miss and you got about a $200 million miss on revenue. So overall, the reason I say it's not the worst thing in the world, because I'm just interpreting from the consumer. Does Best Buy earnings show that people are not buying laptops and phones and cameras and tripods and all the stuff that you get at Best Buy? Not really. It shows like people are actually doing pretty damn well. And a small miss doesn't mean that the consumer is absent from buying electronics. But it will mean that Best Buy is taking a hit on their stock, down about 8% right now. So they were up basically 20%, 18%. Now they're up 10% for the year, as Best Buy is down 8%. Walmart making new all-time highs at 90.37, Dell at 142, Apple at 234, Robin at 37.69, Tesla at 341, Nvidia. Wow, Nvidia losing everything. Nvidia losing everything. Nvidia was at like 138.50. Now it's at 136. Nvidia taking a little bit. It's still up 1%, but it's losing a lot of the momentum it had. S&P losing a little bit as well. Palantir also down below 65. Algo's kind of kicking in. People taking some profits right here, but we are still relatively green for the day. Rocket Lab not losing it. Rocket Lab at 26.11. Also, we had Smuckers. They had earnings. They are up 9%. Smuckers doesn't move 9% that often. Smuckers, let me see if I can get their numbers. Looks like So CEO says, we delivered results that exceeded our expectations. Our strong comparable net sales and earnings growth were driven by sustained consumer demand for our iconic brands. Revenue's up 17% year over year. And wow, they're not profitable. They actually lost money. Smuckers lost money versus being profitable last year, but I guess their revenue growth, 17% is pretty damn good growth for this type of a company. That's almost close to some of these tech companies in terms of their growth. So I guess that's why the street's giving it some love right here, knowing that they'll probably be profitable. And this was maybe like a one-time thing that they have to get over with. 8.7% up on Smuckers, currently green right now. Bitcoin 93. Are we back to 93? We're just touching 93. Just trying to touch 93. All right. So where's MicroStrategy then? If Bitcoin's trying to get back to 93, MicroStrategy 392. MicroStrategy is kind of it's in this 370 to 400 range. We haven't seen it really go below 375 or 373. But it's bouncing back here and forth. And if Bitcoin can keep above 93, 94, maybe MicroStrategy keeps above 400. Marathon was down 6% on the day. Marathon, wow, look at the recovery. Now it's down 1%. just because Bitcoin went up to 93. It's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches would be probably indicative of a recession, right? That's a fair point. That's a fair point. No, I just think the brand acquisition of Hostess as well, that's probably doing well. Some of the other brands they have that I don't know about, probably it seems like the CEO saying that consumer demand is strong for those. So I guess you're seeing Smucker's just, again, it all comes down to the consumer, whether it's Best Buy, Smucker's, Abercrombie, Kohl's, which, you know, Kohl's is not the best consumer place, but they still put up 3.5 billion in revenue. Like these companies, they're not, this is not a collapse of revenue where companies are missing by 20 to 30% on earnings estimates, which is what happened in 2021. That's not happening. If there's some bad misses, but it's not like the misses are just god awful, right? You know, it might be 5-7%, but that's the most outside of Transmedics Group, TMDX, one of the better small caps here. They missed by like 50%. They had a horrible earnings, but outside of them and maybe a few other names, most companies are beating, if not slightly missing. And that's enough for the market to say, all right, we should keep allocating into the stock market. Robinhood right here going green, 37.86, grab at 520, up about 1%, Tesla 344, Nvidia 137, S&P at 598. Eli Lilly's pumping. Okay, so there was some FDA news today about freaking GLP-1, right? What is the news on that? Let me see if I can pull it up. What is the news on that today? There was something very important about that. I think that also implicates HIMSS to an extent. Oh yeah, this one. So Biden is proposing Medicare and Medicaid coverage of obesity drugs. Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk would benefit as supply shortages ease, and the rule would expand access to 3.4 million Americans on Medicare. So if you have Medicare, theoretically, you could get some Ozempic and the government will pay for it. Novo Nordisk, yeah, it's up 2%. Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are up. Is HIMSS benefiting from this at all? HIMSS is down 4% on this. Okay, so logically, I would say HIMSS is down because if you're on Medicare, why would you subscribe to HIMSS if you can get GLP from the government for free, right? Even though HIMSS is cheap in terms of their subscription, free is better than cheap. And so that's why you got HIMSS right here down about 4%. Again, HIMSS is more volatile than MicroStrategy, bro. Like, I'm kidding here, but like, it's kind of crazy how many headlines around GLP and then Amazon can affect HIMSS. But yeah, that's why that one is down 4% right here. Amit, would you rather buy ELF or Celsius? I would rather buy ELF. I'm not buying either right now. I'd rather buy ELF though. ELF's management team is just, I am beyond impressed by these guys. And look, the short report could do nothing to these guys. They're back at 130. They were at like 100. Celsius, I just don't believe in energy drinks being the future, bro. I really don't. I don't know what's the obsession with energy drinks. I don't get it. Celsius's brand down 4%. It's not even that exciting compared to Monster or Red Bull. Monster already said their demand is slowing down. So how does that impact Celsius? Like, I really don't get the thesis on this at all. The thesis was 5 years ago. I don't know if the thesis is there anymore. So I think if you're doing a cash grab and selling puts on it, then maybe that's fair. But I just don't get wanting to go long Celsius. I really don't. I don't. And I'll eat my words if this thing goes back to 50 and I'll be like, yep, I was wrong. Energy drinks are the future. I just personally don't see that momentum. Also, they're not growing anymore. Celsius is not growing at the level they were growing before, right? The growth was what made it exciting. That's why people were paying the multiple. Growth is gone, or at least growth is not that strong. Wow, look at Rocket Lab up almost 10% on the day. 26.40. Holy crap, dude. Talk about growing. Rocket Lab just making new 52-week high after 52-week high. It's incredible. Matthias says HIMSS doesn't get the brand name. They only do compounded medicals. Actual prescription through Medicare can get you direct product for cheap, not compounded. Yeah, well, there you go. That's why HIMSS is down. That's a big, I mean, can Biden even get this passed though? I like, if he's proposing Medicare, Medicaid coverage for obesity drugs, I think it's going to be up to the new administration to like, or the new Congress to like make that real. But if that does become real, if enough people want it, enough Congress people vote for it, or if the Trump administration agrees that it's a good idea, then yeah, that's a big tailwind for Lilly and Novo Nordisk. Lilly, by the way, their stock has not been the best the past month. I mean, they were at $1,000 at one point. Where is the year to date? They were at, sorry, 970. So basically 1,000, 970. Now they're at 711. And so, or sorry, they were at 711. Now they're at 783. So you got a little recovery from the low, but after a couple headlines around GLP over the past 2 months, that also made Eli Lilly very reactive and then went to the downside. Getting tax loss harvested, like I said it would. Yeah, that's also an argument for what could be happening to those names. Palantir's up. Where is Palantir? Palantir right here at 65.62 up. Wow, 1.5%. All right. Palantir getting some love. Yeah, getting all the notifications around Rocket Lab doing well and getting some momentum. Let me text Steve if he's free now. Let's see if we can get him on. Let's see. Palantir 65.65. HIMS is down 5.2%. Best Buy now down almost 9%. Dell down about a third. Rocket Lab 26.39. Rocket Lab looks like it wants 27. Let me check the resistance on Rocket Lab at 27. Also, where is SoFi? Are we at 1550 on SoFi? We were at 1579. Okay, so that's good. So Rocket Lab, let's take a look. 27 resistance on Rocket Lab is 25,000 shares. Not that crazy. And then on SoFi, I think it's closer to like 80,000 for 16. We did hit 16 yesterday, 16.15. $16. Hit 16.15 yesterday, 47,000 shares. Not a ton. So Rocket Lab to 27, SoFi to 16. Not that crazy today if the buy side momentum comes in. Okay, let's call Steve. Let's see if he picks up. When Amit's bearish, that's the bottom, long Celsius. You know, it's funny because Dejuki, I'm going to have to pick on you a little bit. I was pretty bearish on Enphase 180, and you also said that was the bottom. Last time I checked, Enphase is not 180. Again, I don't mean to do it. I'm just saying. I remember your comments, particularly around Enphase. I don't forget. And the amount of Twitter posts of it's the bottom, Amit saying he's bearish Enphase. Well, looks like Enphase took a little bit of a hit. All right. Steve, you there?
Yeah, I got 5 minutes. I took off today, and I ended up working.
Okay, so I love it. Thank you for joining the show. We're happy to talk to you. Everyone's been asking for you to be here. I guess we'll get started with Palantir, $75. What is your thoughts on that?
Did you just tell me Palantir's at $75?
Oh, sorry. I mean, no, I wish it was. It got upgraded to 75. What are your thoughts on the upgrade?
You know what my thoughts are. I think this is getting ahead of itself for the actual revenue and profitability that it generates and the forward growth rates, but doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means I disagree with it. But, you know, it's a great company, and maybe they keep increasing growth rates and profitability, and maybe it becomes justified. I think at some point this is going to plateau, even if it doesn't come down. I think it's going to plateau at some point.
Do you not think there's any logic behind the upgrade by Dan and Mariana? Do you think they're chasing? Like, why do you think they're giving it 75 after it's run so much already?
Well, it already hit your price target. You can't really keep it at the same price target anymore, can you?
I mean, yeah, but also, you know, it's so are you saying that he's just doing it to like do it? Are you saying that it's a bullshit price target increase? Like, what are you saying here?
Listen, they haven't been wrong yet. So why not? I'm not saying it's a bullshit price target because it can absolutely hit. I just don't think it's warranted at this point. That's all. I mean, look, at some point, numbers matter. At some point, everybody has to realize, no matter how much you love a company, no matter what company it is, you are still paying the present value, which is represented by the share price and the market cap, for all of the future cash flow. All of it. Like, that is what you are doing when you purchase a stock of a publicly traded company. You're paying the present value for all future cash flow.
So you don't think at the end of the day that 75. So I guess my question is, if the analysts are just being analysts and they're putting a price target because like that's their job, the question to you then I have is, from your analytical perspective, does 75 at all in 1 year make sense to you?
It could if Palantir triples or quadruples their profitability. I mean, come on. Let's really think about this, okay? They're going to generate $1 billion in free cash flow this year, okay? Even if they generate $2 billion in free cash flow next year and double their free cash flow, what's the market cap at 75 going to be?
165 billion.
Okay. You're telling me the Palantir should be 85 times free cash flow on the assumption that they're going to double the free cash flow next year. It's crazy talk.
I mean, does Tesla...
Even if they, think about this, even if they compound, okay, even if they compound their profitability, they are still trading where if a company was to acquire them without any premium on the valuation. It would take them 85 years to get that initial investment back because revenue generated does not go toward the freaking investment that you would make.
Look, I get it. Numerically, it's hard to justify. My question to you is, do you
tell
think
me they're a bigger company than Lockheed Martin? So if you're going to put them in as a defense contractor company, which they're a hybrid, or if we're going to classify them as a military industrial complex defense company, you're telling me that they should be more valuable today than Lockheed. And I get Lockheed doesn't have the growth potential as Palantir, and I'll agree with that. But from a revenue and profitability standpoint, the numbers make 0 sense, even with a higher growth rate for Palantir. And then if you tell me, no, Steve, they're a software company, okay, cool. So you're telling me that they should be valued more extensively than a Salesforce or an Adobe, because that's the route that they're going at this point.
So then to you, it's about growth. If they can actually accelerate the growth, then you would be okay with the valuation. But right now, you're not seeing the massive acceleration. Personally.
Look, there's two things that I would want to see to feel better. Let's rephrase the question to what would get me to purchase shares. Okay. What would get me to purchase shares here would be if we could see that they could maintain a free cash flow rate of 39%, because I believe that's what they were last quarter. 39% was their margin on free cash flow. But it dips every quarter because of the way the revenue comes in. But if they could maintain a 39%, let's just call it 40% to make the numbers easy. If they can maintain a 40% free cash flow rate, and if they increase their revenue growth, I don't think it's that insanely crazy to give them a high multiple. But I mean, they would need to come out and say, we expect, because keep in mind, they did not hit the revenue targets that they put out when they went public. They're still under it. We're going to finish this year at 2.6
Well,
billion
the big target, as Carp said, 4.5 billion in revenue by 2025, right? So
that's next year. So they need to go up 8% in revenue.
Yeah, just a little 80%. I mean, nothing
8%. So
crazy.
That's the target, right? We're behind. We are behind what the original target was that all the projections were made on. That's the other problem I have.
Okay, so Steve, here's my question here. What if we forget about the numbers and we think about the actual technology and we go back to like curious people when the stock was at $6 studying the tech? What if the tech itself, which is what Mariana talked about yesterday in a report, is so unbelievably differentiated? She said it is widening its moat. That is why you buy Palantir at the premium. Could that be an argument or no?
No. That's like saying that, what is another company that has some type of monopoly? And maybe that's not the right word, but some type of gigantic moat. That's like saying, okay, nobody can compete with Nvidia in chips, or nobody can compete with Micron and DRAM, that they should get these crazy multiples. I mean, this is insanity, because no matter how good the business is, or no matter how much you like a company, at some point, the market tells you how much these companies are generating in revenue.
Okay, so Steve, you're telling me it's insanity, but I'm looking at a stock that for about 3 weeks has stayed above $55.
Yeah, I
mean, are you insane, or is the market insane? Are you insane, or is the market insane?
Maybe I'm insane. Maybe I'm looking at this from a numbers thing, and I'm willing to pay a premium. I paid big premiums for companies before, and I believe you pay for value. If a company is really good, you should pay more than what the average multiple on earnings is. I'm good with that. I paid more than what people think Apple should be valued at on a price to earnings. I have no problem with
that.
So
what is an appropriate market cap for Palantir here? What would our share price? $40, $45?
Yeah, I think between the 30 and 40 right now is where Palantir should be. If that.
If that?
Yes.
I feel like you're losing your Palantir bullishness because of your covered calls. And if you
I'm not bullish on Palantir right now. I'm neutral on Palantir.
I mean, look, I get it because the valuation, but I feel like
I'm not bearish. Okay. I've never been bearish on Palantir. I have switched to neutral.
But Steve, my point is you were bullish for many years, like explicitly bullish. The stock ran up a lot. That's a reason to get a little conservative, but not necessarily be like, oh my God, it's the most overvalued thing in the world, right?
I'm not saying it's the most overvalued thing in the world. I'm just saying that based on what they are doing, it is overvalued. That's what I'm saying. Now, if the market agrees with me, and if other people don't agree with me, That's something different. People can continue to buy this. This could go to 100 by Easter, okay? There is no reason that it can't keep this momentum. You don't fight the Fed, you don't fight momentum. You don't fight either. I would not be fighting the momentum right now. All I'm saying is at some point, this is going to break, and at some point, people are going to take profits, and at some point, you're going to lose buyers. Because if this goes to 100, what is the bull case then? Like, are people really going to say this isn't overvalued at 100? If it goes to 100 in the next 4 months?
It depends on their next earnings growth. If they're still at 30%, then yeah, that's ridiculous. If they're at 57% or 80%, then no. But so I agree with you. It is based on the growth, and in a market momentum rally, you need a lot of growth. If they stay at 30 to 32% and they're at $100, then yeah, obviously that's not going to be reasonable. But my point to you is just that you keep saying the buyers are running out. I just keep seeing more people buy the stock, and I think they're not retail GameStop to the moon people. All of those people, from my understanding, are actually taking profits. They're not getting into this. They have other names that they're chasing, not Palantir. And if the toots are buying, I think that's creating somewhat of a floor to the stock.
The fact that Carp and Teal have been selling aggressively, and this has not gone down, that doesn't scare anybody.
Well, but hold on. Jensen sold $1 billion of stock 2 months ago. Nvidia's at all-time highs. What like? People want to buy Nvidia.
There's a big difference between Palantir and Nvidia.
No, 100%. There's a difference.
Just generated $19 billion in pure profit in 3 months, and it is on a run rate because they just said, and I think they're sandbagging the numbers, that they're going to do $37.5 billion over the next 3 months of revenue. So at a 54% margin, I mean, this is a company that is on a run rate to do more than $80 billion in profit.
No, but Steve, you don't have to give the bull case on Nvidia. We get that, but I'm just saying Jeff Bezos has been selling Amazon all-time highs.
Bezos is trying to buy a sports team.
I don't care why they're selling. I'm just saying they're selling, and the stocks aren't tanking because someone's buying, and it feels like the toots are happy in this market to pick up those shares, and they're not scared when the insiders are selling. And it's not just Palantir. That's my point of Amazon and Nvidia. It's everything.
Yeah, and that's fine. Look, I don't fault insiders for selling with these types of situations because they've earned the right to sell. They did not have a market to sell, and they've been shareholders for a long time. This is part of their comp. I'm good with it. All I'm saying is it's not normal not to see a retracement. Most companies have a retracement in those scenarios, even if they bounce back. Palantir didn't even get a retracement on that.
Last thing I'll say right here, I told you this yesterday, but Trump met with the Anduril co-founder and former Palantir engineer Trey Stevens. He's being considered to be one of the parts of Secretary of Defense, like one of the secretaries there, or the directors there. I think that's another reason Palantir is getting a premium, which is inexplainable through the numbers, but rather people are thinking that the entire U.S. military is going to change how they procure hardware and software, and that the new defense tech companies might be in the mix there.
Look, you're not wrong. Elon came out and said, and I agree with Elon, that we are wasting money building F-35s. Human-manned aircraft is a thing of the past. It is all drones, and that's all going to be software-based. And if Palantir becomes the prime on that, I mean, forget it. I get it. Yes. And I do think that's where we're moving to. But there's no guarantee Palantir is going to be the prime on that. And we have no idea what type of contracts those are going to be. Those are a bunch of what-ifs that moving to drone warfare in the sky, I think that that's an inevitability at this point, that you're not going to see the Air Force with human-manned aircrafts the way that we do in the next 5 years. I think that is completely going to happen. Yeah. But it still leaves questions about how much these contracts go to. I don't know. We'll see. But right now, it just feels stretched, and it just feels like, you know what? People are just, and this is where markets get dangerous, when people just buy to be in a company.
Okay, last question for you, Steve, because it ties in with Nvidia, then I'll let you go. So SMH, the semiconductor ETF, is down 4% over the past month. IGV, the software sector ETF, is up 15% over the past month.
Yep.
Do you think, and this kind of ties in with Palantir and Nvidia, do you think some of the money is leaving semis, going to software, which Palantir is one of the names, and then secondarily, do you think Nvidia is a buy if all the semis are still struggling?
Yeah, I mean, look, even though AMD is flatlined a bit or even down from their highs, it's still up massively in the past 3-4 years. Nvidia is up massively. Micron is up massively. People take profits at some point, even if that scenario is pushed off. At some point, people take profits. And you could see money moving around to different sectors because of AI. Absolutely. That doesn't mean that the demand for these products aren't there. And I think I was thinking about potentially buying more Nvidia later today or tomorrow, but if Nvidia keeps coming down, I'm really interested in acquiring more because I think long term it's going to be, Nvidia has the potential to be the first $4 trillion company. There's only 3 companies you can say are going to get there first, and it's Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia. Based on Nvidia's growth rate, they could become the first $4 trillion company.
Yeah, and ultimately, you think Nvidia's earnings were sandbagged enough where the street is upset, but they know that 40 billion is coming pretty soon.
I don't think that the street's putting 2 and 2 together. And I mean, I don't know if the people that are covering Nvidia are the same ones that cover the rest of the Mag 7 and listen to all the earnings calls. I have no idea. But what I heard on those earnings calls is CapEx is not slowing down in 2025.
Right.
And if CapEx is not slowing down in 2025, you got to think Nvidia's going to have a better year in 2025 than they did in 2024.
All right.
I mean,
Steve,
I don't know what else to say about that. But
no, it's fair.
I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
I've been texting you a lot this morning.
You have?
Okay. How do we feel about Mr. Brad Garlinghouse?
Okay, so I'm gonna send you a question because obviously this has to do with XRP. Are you buying XRP here, given all the 17? Hold on. Let me finish the question. All the 17,000 text messages you're sending me about XRP and Ripple and Brad Garlinghouse, are you actually buying XRP?
So at the moment, I am not, but I may add more. I have a cost basis of 21 cents.
I love that for you. I am not interested in buying XRP until you put your money where your mouth is and actually buy. Because all the Instagram, all the Instagram reels you send to me, but you're not buying, makes me think that you're just getting dopamine off being right off your 21-cent average. But you don't actually care about developing a position in this coin.
I was trying to get you in at 48 cents, buddy.
So I don't care that I'm not in XRP.
Don't do that. I was trying to get you in at 48 cents. Don't do that.
No, but then I found out how much you had, and I was like, oh, Steve doesn't really believe in it.
Well, at the time, I put in what I was willing to risk on it. I mean...
But, Steve, the amount of bullishness you have versus the amount of your net worth in this coin makes me feel you just like watching Brad Garlinghouse videos. You do not like take it seriously.
No, I've explained the underlying technology to you multiple times.
And you still don't have a significant position, which is why I don't get
I'm not putting a significant position of my net worth in crypto.
I think neither am I.
If it makes you feel better, I will buy more this week if it makes you feel better.
Look, don't buy because I'm peer pressuring you. I'm just curious why you're so excited about the currency, but you don't own more of it. Like, I like Robinhood. I've been buying at 35, which is way more than when I bought it at $8. You know what I mean? Like, money is where my mouth is. That's my point.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of things that I am acquiring. I can't buy everything in the amount that I would like to. And if XRP does what I think it has the potential to do, I will be very happy with the investment that I made.
Well, I mean, at 21 cents, if this thing goes to like $2, $3, you're going to be really happy. I mean,
no, I'm not talking about $2, $3.
Okay, see, so you're so damn bullish on this thing.
I am not talking about $2, $3.
Okay, what's your target then? Give us a target on XRP.
In all seriousness.
Yeah, in all seriousness.
A lot of things have to happen. Okay, but I can rationalize a case in my head. And you see triple digits on those tokens.
You think 137 goes to 137 one day?
I'm telling you that I see.
Well, then, Steve, you need to be buying it at 137. That's what
I see a scenario in my head, and you know what? Maybe I'll start buying every week. Maybe I'll put some money into it every week from here on out, because I really do see now that regulatory is done. Now that the SEC thing's going to be thrown out, they already won the first leg of the SEC part. If Garlinghouse gets tapped as the cryptos are. We know that he's met with Trump. We know that Don Jr. has been talked to by several people in the community, including Bitcoin crypto, regardless of what you think of him or not. Guy knows what he's talking about with crypto. And the actual underlying technology, all the banks that are signed up, Amazon being a partner of Ripple. I mean, this has a lot of future potential.
All right. I mean, if that's the case, then I think buying it at 137 for you, if you believe triple digits, then I think that makes sense. And I agree with your catalyst. Your catalysts are real.
I will start buying.
Okay. Last thing, are you excited for our Black Friday fixed income dividend holiday special?
I am excited for the Friday fixed dividend income special.
Everyone is super excited. People want to know where the hell to put their money so they can generate some cash and not take all the risk in the world. So that'll be fun. That'll be 12 noon, folks, Black Friday. And Steve and Kris will be talking dividends. All right, Steve. Thank you.
I can't believe you're going to start buying income producing stocks. This is awesome.
I want divvies, baby. I want divvies. There we go.
I like it. I like it. Well, I just put, or I shouldn't say but Seeking Alpha just released an article on Enbridge this morning that I wrote.
Okay, we will put that in the chat.
So you should read it because, Enbridge is the most complete energy infrastructure company in North America, considering they're the largest utility in North America. They transport 30% of the crude throughout North America, and they transport 20% of the natural gas consumed in North America.
All right, so we'll talk about Enbridge as one of the dividend stocks in that Black Friday episode.
All right, you keep being a good role model, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, appreciate you, Steve. Talk later. Bye-bye.
Later.
All right, so those are Steve's thoughts on Palantir. Look, I know a lot of you guys agree with him, and I have to poke him a little bit, right? I understand that it's expensive as well. I've said that 1 trillion times, so I'm not saying Palantir's cheap, but I do want to poke people that are saying it is massively overvalued because I'm trying to figure out, are they crazy or is the street crazy? One of them is going to be right? Like one of either Steve's going to be right that the street is stupid and this thing's going back to 40 and like $64 is insanity, or Steve's dead wrong and this thing holds, even if it's at 64 at the end of next year, and it just grows into this 150 billion, which it normalizes 60. Maybe people can start buying at 60 because they're not that afraid of it anymore. But it doesn't have that much downside. Someone's going to be right. And we're going to find out in about a year. Someone is going to be right in terms of how they're interpreting this. And again, if we have like a broad market crash, then I think, then Steve ends up being right. Then the bears end up being right. But at that point, everything's down. So to me, this has got to be, for a Palantir collapse, we've got to see Palantir down 50%, not the market down 50% or 30%, whatever. Because if the entire market's down, then of course Palantir is going to go down. But for it to be a real bubble, I think it has to fall independent of the broader market, which we've seen happen many times. Tesla was down all this year while the markets were ripping higher. So, you could argue that Tesla was a bubble at 300 or whatever as it collapsed 60%. But now it's back. And so I think we're going to have to see how that plays out with Palantir. The one thing I think when Palantir goes down, if it does go down, is that there's going to be dip buyers. We saw that at 57. We might see that at 55 if it gets to there. Like, I just think there's a lot of dip buyers ready to continue to buy the stock. If the market was down 50%, Palantir would be down 80%. Yeah, 100%. So I don't think the market's going to go down 50%. I think it could go down I don't know, in 2025. There's so many analysts that are saying they do not see a recession, which is making me think, are we actually getting a recession or not? But if we do go down 20, 30%, yeah, I think that's where Palantir gets down 50, 60%. I just don't know if there's enough sell side pressure to sell off stocks unless we think inflation's back. And tariffs probably going to determine that over the coming weeks. People love saying, told you it's a bubble, but if you DCA and make money, who cares? Yeah, look, a lot of people that have averages in the teens or in the 20s or even in the 30s. If this thing even pulls back to 40, you're doing good, right? And that's the beautiful thing about retail being early. It's like the margin of safety of this stock falling and you still being up is just one of the coolest things ever, right? And so now you can DCA pretty aggressively if this thing goes down because you already have such a good margin of safety because you got in at a cheaper price. So you're going to be able to get more shares for a cheaper price if the thesis is intact and there's not like an overarching reason why it should be down. But that's only because people were early. And that's what's important about Palantir. Is Google or Amazon a more diversified business? I would say Amazon is more diversified. Google right here up about 0.38%. Google has search, and that's, I know they have other things, but search is like the big thing. Obviously cloud and YouTube and Waymo and all stuff, but it's search. Amazon just has a lot. Wow, Amazon up 3%. Amazon getting a little bit of a breakout right here. Amazon has cloud with AWS. They have Prime. They have advertising. They have robotics. They have so many things that they're working on. And so much of the world's commerce is still not on the internet. And so much of the world's cloud infrastructure is still on-prem. That is, or infrastructure, IT infrastructure has not moved to the cloud. So you've got two massive verticals, and then you got AI workloads on top of all that. Maybe the chips business of Amazon's thinking of competing with Nvidia a little bit more aggressively. I just think there's a lot, and now they're in telehealth. even though they might not destroy HIMS. But like, they're just in so many different verticals. I think Amazon is much, much, much more diversified. 10:30 dump time. Yes, we might get 10:30 dump time. Where is Enphase? Enphase right here, down about 2.9%. And guys, if Juki's still in the chat, I didn't mean to call him out or anything like that. I never do that, but it's like sometimes people are just like, I don't know, sometimes people are just dicks, bro. And it's like that guy I remember, I don't even know his full name. I just know his name is Juki. And like every day when Palantir was $7 and Enphase was like 300, and I was like on Finance Junkies, I was bullish Palantir and like not the most bullish Enphase. It was like wrong. It would be in my Twitter reply saying the same shit. It's cool. I'm joshing you. Okay, good. We're joshing each other. Because sometimes, you know, people are a little dickish, and you got to call them out sometimes on it. Because obviously, we've seen the story on Enphase, down the gutter, Palantir kind of on the moon, right? And it's not a question of taking a victory lap on that, but it's also not a question of trying to tear someone down if they're wrong. And that's why I stay neutral. I don't talk about the good or the bad. But when someone brings it up, it gets kind of annoying because it's like, all right, like, don't be a dick, right? This game is hard. The stock market is hard. It's so hard to win in. And so that's why I said this yesterday. There's a reason I was buying SoFi at 7, even though Robinhood outperformed, and obviously Robinhood and SoFi compete, but I wasn't publicly saying SoFi sucks because the stock market's hard. You don't want to shit on people when they're down. And a lot of times stocks can move up if they just have some good quarters of execution, which is what we're seeing with SoFi. And so I just think it's really important to do. This is why it's so cringe sometimes on FinTwit when people are posting their wins and like taking shots at, like when HIMS was down 30%, I asked the question of like, oh, why is HIMS down? Is Amazon coming for their moat? Like, what's happening here? I was curious. You had other people saying HIMS is dead. I'm like, what is wrong with people? Like, that's the easiest way, to degrade your brand. Because what if HIMS is not dead? What if you're wrong? Because even Warren Buffett, which we'll talk about in a second, has been wrong before. What if you're wrong and HIMS goes back to 30 when you say it's dead at 17? It's like, okay, so now you just sound like a dick. And then number 2, the level of arrogance you have to claim that something's dead. Same thing with these people calling Palantir bubbles, the most bubble. It's like the level of arrogance you need to have to say that. It's just very extreme. And you better be right on that, because if you're wrong, you just look really bad by making such a profound statement. So that's why I think it's important to kind of navigate in different ways. Whoa. I feel like you've taken a few shots at SoFi. No, I've taken a lot of shots at SoFi, but it's usually SoFi, the stock, not the company. The company itself, there are some things I don't like about it, like their user interface and stuff like that. But outside of that, the company's been executing. We know Noto's a rock star. The stock, though, yeah, you take shots at the stock because, like, the biggest shot I've taken is that I didn't think Noto knew how to communicate to shareholders on earnings calls. And I think even SoFi people agreed, like, hey, he kind of sucked when he was like actually explaining Technesis and Galileo and all that stuff. But that's stuff that's fixable. And that's why I bought in, because I thought that would be fixed. And, you know, now you got SoFi trying to fix that stuff up. It was a broken stock, though. We all knew it. Yeah, exactly. Breakfast Pizza says, as a Bitcoiner for 8 years, most people love to crap on your ideas when they simply don't understand it. Yeah, 100%. And look, you can get really humbled by it. I definitely laughed at Bitcoin when it was at 20,000. That you'll admit. And it was the wrong thing. I just wasn't educated enough on it. And sometimes you got to get a little bit more educated before you completely shit on something and say it's, you know, useless or not meaningful. Marathon right here down about 1.8%. So Marathon was green. Now it goes down. Where's Marathon MicroStrategy? MicroStrategy 391, still holding above 390. So Bitcoin still 93,000. Marathon and MicroStrategy were green when it was at 93.5. Now back down to 93.1. And both of those stocks taking a little bit of the red side. I remember I bought big calls early, but did take shots at Notice Energy, which was right. Yeah, dude, I bought calls when it was at 450. I still have those today. You know, so it's like, it was always just annoyed that SoFi wasn't turning into what they could turn into versus not believing in the company. And, you know, thankfully it looks like they're executing now. And you got a Trump win, which is great for banks. And that's another big reason why SoFi is doing well. Energy transfer right here up about 1%. Where are banks today? XLF is down a little bit, $50.87. So financial is taking in a little bit of a hit. That's why SoFi is probably not 16 yet. Yeah, 1569. But we still do have some broader green on the indices. What's your opinion of C3 AI and IONQ? So C3 AI, I don't like their growth. They do as much revenue in a quarter as Palantir does, or in a year as Palantir does on like one government deal. I've never liked their revenue growth. They do have a contract with Microsoft, and that's why the stock was up 15% last week. I haven't looked into the contract. Don't know if it's that big of a deal. But it's a small cap, right? Under $5 billion. The growth is not amazing, in my opinion, but that Microsoft deal is getting them some love. And then IONQ, look, you guys were telling me about this thing at $10. Now it's at $30. I just fully am not understanding the quantum computing world. And this thing is very volatile. I think it can go back to 20 as easily as it can go to 40. So I've just got to do more research on quantum computing. But this thing also, you know, relatively small cap, below 7 billion. And they've got to put up some real numbers and real progress to get big money more excited about it. Price to sales of 173. It's double as expensive as Palantir on a price to sales basis, or almost triple, more than triple. So I think it is expensive. But at $10, maybe it was a steal. And for those that got in, congrats. At 30, I don't know if it's the best deal now after the run. Grinders down 15%. Are we actually down 15%? No, we're at $15. I mean, look, if it was down 50%, I'd buy more, dude. My average is 14.14. If we get back down, I bought it at 14.14 just because I didn't want to miss the story, because I feel like it's one of those stocks, bro, where you have a thesis and you're not going to have like $100,000 position, but you know that like you're going to be upset if it runs away from you. It's the same thing I did with Lyft, but I never ended up buying Lyft at $10. Grinder, even at 14, I was like, I'm going to be pretty upset if this thing goes to 20 and I have none of it. So I bought 1,500 shares. So about like 20 grand. But I think I'm fully prepared for it to go back to 12, because I do think the valuation I paid is a little bit up there. But so far, we're not down. So far, we are not down. Zokol says, I'm confident Google or Amazon will be fully immersed in quantum computing once the time comes. That's what Steve's bull case is on quantum computing. That's why he doesn't like QUBT and IONQ, because he thinks the big guys are going to come in. I think the bull case for those companies is maybe they get bought up by Google and Amazon. Wow, QUBT down 17%. This thing was up 30% yesterday. It's absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. I bought Grindr last week. I told you guys I bought Grindr last week. Bought it last week at 14.07, 14.14. I think the average is like 14.12, whatever it is, but in that low 14 range. And I bought it expecting it. I even sold some puts at 13. I was like, all right, I'm probably going to get a sign on these. And I have 5 covered calls at 15 that are now probably going to go away. I'll probably let those get called away. I mean, maybe there's a roll I can do on them, but we'll see. But yeah, I got into the story, and now we just got to kind of see how it plays out. MicroStrategy right here, 388, Bitcoin falling, dude. Right, we were at 93.5, now we're at 92.5. Volatility, unbelievable, bro. This thing is just going up and down and up and down, and no one cares. Amit, please check out the Yield Max ETFs. Would love to hear your take on them. Not trying to spam, just wanted to add these to the research list. Yeah, we'll put them on the list. I'll write them down right now, and we'll get some opinions on them. Maybe Steve and Kris also can help us talk about them. You know, yesterday we had the stat that the leveraged ETFs, single stock leveraged ETFs, they brought in $88 billion of volume over the last week. So this is your MSTX of the world, which currently is down 9%. The appetite for these levered ETFs is massive, and more want to trade them. And in 2025, we're going to have to see if that sentiment remains, because if it does, then I think we're going to get continued momentum in them. But if we don't, you know, those could crash and burn really badly. So it's going to be a journey to see how they kind of hold up against the underlying ETFs. The thing is, if we have a correction in 2025, like 10%, 15% down, all the levered ETFs are going to be down 30 to 40%. Like when Nvidia goes down by 10%, NVDL is down by 20%. So I mean, it's going to be a question of it if we actually see that in 2025. Amit, how's the new Model Y? It's amazing. I drove it this morning. I love driving this thing so much. Best car ever. I mean, truly, it's amazing. Like it feels. Someone described it yesterday as like it's a video game when you drive it, and I think that's the way to describe it. It's a video game when you drive it. It's literally a video game. So it just feels like, and the acceleration is wild, bro. Sometimes I need to relax. I'm like accelerating 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. I'm like, all right, let me chill for a minute, bro. But like, because my Honda Civic never accelerated like that. It would make this big engine revving sound just to get to like 25 miles an hour. This thing, you just push down on on the pedal, boom, you're gone. It's pretty incredible. Pretty damn incredible. Doug says NAV erosion on those yield max ETFs are making a sucker out of you. Ask me how I know. All right, so I guess you have some experience with that. Mark says, thank you for covering ET. Yes, we'll cover it more on the dividend holiday special. We will talk about ET as well. You got to do a live stream while driving. I can't do this because my mom's going to see it and she's going to yell at me. Like, she will absolutely destroy me if she thinks I'm on my phone in the car, which I'm not, by the way. I don't use the phone in the Tesla. But at a red light, even if I like grab my phone to check it, she'll get upset because she's like so scared of anything happening. So if I do it, I got to figure out a way to do it in a way that doesn't get hit. Kris says, send me the StreamYard link. All right, Kris, we are sending you the link. Let's get Christopher Patel onto the show. Bro, why did WhatsApp change their... WhatsApp makes you download the app on your computer now instead of being a web app. and it's kind of annoying. Like the app is good, but it's sometimes you just want to just go on your browser and use it. But that is a change for those that use web app or they use WhatsApp. That changed just recently. We'll talk about crypto. We'll talk about MSTR, Mara, all that stuff. We'll talk about that with Kris. Your mom is right. It only takes a second to change your life or someone else's life. That is correct. And speaking of that, before we get into Kris, Kris actually tweeted about this today. Warren Buffett has published a letter where he is announcing a donation of a lot of shares of Berkshire Hathaway into his end of life planning. So Warren Buffett announced in a public letter that he's donating another 1.1 billion of Berkshire stock into his end of life planning. Here was one of the quotes from what he said, which I mean, it hits everybody when you read this. Father time always wins, but he can be fickle, indeed unfair and even cruel, sometimes ending life at birth or soon thereafter a while, at other times waiting a century or so before paying a visit. To date, I've been very lucky, but before long, he will get around to me. There is, however, a downside to my good fortune in avoiding his notice. The expected lifespan of my children has materially diminished since the 2006 pledge. They are now 71, 69, and 66. It's pretty incredible, man. The fact that his kids, I mean, think about that. Your kids are now like grandparents, and you're to be alive that long to see that happen. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing, and it's incredible. And I think the takeaway from that is Buffett actually believes in giving more than you take, and actually, believing that when you die, you can't take the wealth with you. So let's give it away and do as much as we can if you've been lucky enough and blessed enough to make that much wealth. And then the other takeaway is like, life is short. Life is very, very short. We're just all sacks of meat on this planet that are eventually going to be gone, and none of us really know what happens after we're gone. We might have some theories, but we don't fully know. And you have some years on this planet to try to do something cool. And I think another takeaway from that is not to take life as seriously. If you got a grudge with someone, make up with them. If you're not, if you don't have the best relationship with your parents, try to have a better relationship. Like, it's very quick. It all goes away soon. And kind of the joy of being alive is that you at least have a chance to engage with it. One similarity to Bitcoin, I was thinking about this morning, is Bitcoin has 21 million coins, right? It's finite, and that's what gives it value. Life has a finite number of years. And so things that are finite, kind of basic supply and demand, you have a little bit of time, you try to live it up to the best. You have a little bit of Bitcoin, you try to get whatever you can, and the value of that hopefully does increase. All right, let's bring Kris onto the show. Kris, what's up?
Dude.
Do you like my Bitcoin analogy with life?
I wasn't paying attention to that. Sorry, I was joining the StreamYard, so I couldn't hear you. So,
all right. So what's on your mind? Talk to me.
All right. So there is a game that's being played in the background, and after a lot of research, it's still a theory. Okay, it's not 100% confirmed that this is what's actually happening.
Does the game ever stop?
Always. There's always an end to the game.
So
right?
We should buy GameStop.
No, we shouldn't buy GameStop. So let me actually do what.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah. So let me take the gum out. Let me just put this on the side.
Oh, you're getting serious, bro. Goodness.
All right.
Here we go. What are we talking about?
So right now, quote unquote, the infinite money glitch that is crypto is something to be cautious of. Okay. I'm not gonna go here. I know some people are Bitcoin maxis, some people are very into MSTR, some of them now are into Mara, but let me explain something that I think is going on in the background. I've listened to quite a few people who are in the know about this, and their explanation seems to be very reasonable in that there's this money, this capital that's sitting around and trying to figure out, how am I going to make a return on it? Now, one of the ways that we're starting to see these guys do it is by, one, taking a lot less, if you can make a return with a lot less risk, that is what they're going to do. So one of the strategies that you're seeing is this arbitrage opportunity in, quote unquote, the Bitcoin play, which is also now translated into MSTR and Mara. So essentially what happens is these guys say to MicroStrategy and said, look, here's all this money. You want to buy Bitcoin, we want to give you this money. So we're going to give you cash. MicroStrategy gets that cash, they buy Bitcoin, and in return, they get convertible debt at a premium. So the convertible debt is great because it's like, oh, look, free money. That's what the market is seeing, free money, right? But what these guys are doing in the background is they're going out there and they're shorting the stock at the same exact time. Okay. And this is a hedge fund strategy where they're actually utilizing a disconnect and all this pumping that's going on, because right now there's a ton of volatility and they're taking advantage of that, and they're shaving off money by basically transacting while using the call option, quote unquote, the convertible bond, as a hedge if things were to go higher. So right now, that's right, Matthias is talking about the delta neutral thing. So right now, you're basically at a point where there is a floor price under Mara, and then there's also a ceiling. So what happens is, as that ceiling you get closer to that ceiling, these short sellers, what they do is they start selling shares into the open market, and that creates a downward move in the stock price, right? But that also means those shorts end up becoming profitable. On the other hand, if the price drops too much, they end up covering their shorts and the stock goes higher, right? And they keep playing this game. Now, let's say it penetrates that underlying that ceiling, right? What they essentially do is now they issue more convertible debt, and they keep playing this thing again. And it's a constant game of this cat and mouse, to the point where now you've got even small ass companies trying to replicate this and getting a premium while it's a very weird scenario that's happening. I don't know exactly what the floor prices are, but I don't know what the ceiling prices are, because it's something that there's a lot of math behind it, and it's very quantitatively done in the background. So the thing is, we have to be careful with this. I made a mistake in Mara. Okay. And the mistake that I made wasn't that I got into Mara, but I got into leaps on Mara. And I got into leap spreads on Mara, which I explained to my Patreon compatriots that wasn't the smartest move. Now, the thing is, yes, we made some money on it. Great. We made like 40, 50, I think almost like 40% on the trade. But the risk that we took on is not good. And if we had just done shorter term options, we would have absolutely killed it, because that was the 100% the right call to make at 18 when they announced this convertible debt thing, because it was going to go higher at that point. The problem is we went into leaps, which meant that we didn't capture a lot of that alpha that we should have.
Because
some people
the extrinsic value of the leap, aka the time value, is so high because you have 2 years on the contract.
Well,
right?
the problem is, it's not that I bought the leap, but it's the problem that I did a debit spread on it, right? So basically the spread kind of canceled each other out.
Right.
So that long call and that short call, they moved in sync with each other. And yes, there was a little bit more appreciation on the long call versus the short call, but once again, it was a wrong move. Had I just done it for like 60 days out or 90 days out, it would have been a much better return. I mean, of course, this is all in hindsight, but
also, you're not the type of guy to do a 3-month call option.
I'm not. That's the thing.
Oh.
I am. A lot of people think that I'm very short term in my thesis. I'm not. I'm actually pretty long term. Like right now, if you look at Carnival Cruise Lines and Norwegian, I've been holding these spreads for close to like a year and some change now. And look at the stock. It's shot up. Like I'm up almost, and everyone knows, like in my Patreon knows like how big of a position I have in this. But Carnival, Norwegian, they are absolutely killing it right now. So this is not the traditional debit spread kind of play that makes sense to me. Well, actually, not that it makes sense, but it falls in line with how I do the investing. But right now, Mara is in a weird scenario that it could break above the 26, 27, 28 level. But it's going to be hard to do. And the short sellers are definitely going to pile in there and just try to keep it down.
So hold on. So, but I agree with this. I think that makes a lot of sense. But if Bitcoin does go to like 130, this thing's blasting through 26, 27, 28, right? It
could. It very well could. But remember, these things are still trading at a premium to NAV, right?
Correct.
So all that would do is raise the floor price, in my opinion, raise the floor price of the underlying security, right? So right now, what you're seeing is all the value is going to bondholders. The bondholders are the real winners here. Okay, they're essentially getting free money. Not free money. There's a wrong word. I don't want to be so stringent about how I use the terminology, but they're essentially they're getting money, they're getting paid, but at the same time, the risk is going down as the price of Bitcoin goes higher and higher. What ends up happening is the assets, remember, that's still an asset, that's giving more securitization. The collateral is growing. So that means that there's a built-in floor price on how much money they could possibly lose because the price of Bitcoin is rising. It also, remember, when MicroStrategy and when Mara and all these companies, they'll go out into the open market and they buy Bitcoin and put that on the balance sheet, that value gets transferred to bondholders. It gives more security to bondholders because there's still value in that Bitcoin, right? So let's say tomorrow Bitcoin drops to like $50. I mean, $50,000, right? If you look at the equity wipeout would happen, but the bondholders are still secure.
Right.
Okay.
And they would make money on their short as well.
Right. Exactly. So
when Saylor says that there's this Bitcoin yield, what does that mean? What is he talking about with his Bitcoin yield?
Like I said, it's a combination of all the money that you could be making by just putting it into. So this is, I don't want to.
I know you think it's a Ponzi, but you're trying to like explain it as not a Ponzi. But I feel you. I feel your pain.
I don't want to sound like a negative Nancy on this, but it's like it's an invented yield. That's basically. I mean, it's the truth. Look, he's basically cobbling together a whole bunch of numbers and putting them together and saying, "Look at my yield." Right? Okay. So as an example, if you took the money and you put it into a treasury asset, you would get 4.25. But if you put it into Bitcoin, right, and you get a certain yield from that, he's like saying, like, look, I saved you from not getting like only 4.5%. I was able to get you more because the capital appreciation of Bitcoin was higher. So it's almost like if you had bought treasuries, you would have got 4.5% return. But because I bought Bitcoin at a discount and now it's trading at a higher price, it technically means that I gave you a yield. Like, no, motherfucker, look at the yield. The yields are coming down right now. Look at his tweet. As the price of Bitcoin comes down, the fucking yield should be going down as well. Yeah. Right? Because if you bought something at 99 and it's trading at 85, that means that you're down. So your yield is going down now. Okay? Now, so it's
okay. So here's another question. So actually, yeah. I want to talk about MicroStrategy, but first the question. So you said you were wrong on the spreads. My question now is exit strategy. How are you? Do you think Marathon's going to 40? They got upgraded yesterday, and you think it plays out, or do you just not want to stomach the volatility and you're going to take your profits and get out?
I already took half of my profits up front, so I'm down with half of my position. I cleared it already. Believe it or not, I spoke to Adam about this yesterday, like literally at around 12 o'clock when that shit was like 28 something. I was like, hey man, I think we got a problem. And you know, because the thing is, Adam is more of a crypto investor than I am, right? So he knows the ins and outs of some of the trading that happens within the crypto sphere. So Adam was like, yeah, man, I know. That's why I bought. So Adam is doing much better in the position because he bought stock, I think. Bought stock. So, and he did actually some leaps on it too. So
let's say someone entered at 18.19 when you were talking about it. Even if they entered into leaps, they're up right now at 26. Yeah. Right? Even if they entered into stock, they're up right now. Yeah. If someone is up right now because they heard you were getting into it, they liked the trade, they got into it, they're up right now, even if they're up 10% or they're up 40%, whatever. Is your suggestion be really cautious about this? Because which is not really a suggestion because we know Bitcoin is volatile.
Look, I'd say sell where you can, buy where you can. When things are overbought, you sell, right? When things are oversold, you buy. It's not the most complicated thing on the planet to do that. So right now, you know, they had literally like a 40% move in 5 days. Okay? 40% in 5 days. So like, you know, just take some money off the top. Don't be greedy.
Getting your initial out if you're up is.
Yeah, you should always take your initial out, you know, and yeah, you might not make it all the way. Like, I know some people are saying, oh, it's going to go all the way to the moon. Okay. I still have a position. It's just half of it is gone. So, you know.
Okay. So ultimately, I mean, I know we're doing a lot of like intellectual gymnastics around this yield and convertible note, but at its core, if Bitcoin goes down, MicroStrategy and Marathon tank. If Bitcoin goes up, there's a much better chance they continue to go up. What is your perspective right now on Bitcoin?
The real curiosity is, how do you make money on all this volatility? And the thing is, you can ride it both ways. You know, where right now I sold at, at a higher price, if this thing comes down to the 20s, I could buy in again, because my opinion is we have a floor of about 18 to 20. And then what happens is Mara is going to add more Bitcoin to the balance sheet, right? Because of its mining and all that stuff. But I think it's going to be closer to 18. So when it's oversold and it's sitting at 18, 19, I'll buy. When it goes above 26, 27, I'll reevaluate and seeing what the new ceiling is. If it can break through the ceiling because the price of Bitcoin has gone up significantly and people are getting overly bullish on it, I'm definitely going to sell again. So I think this is more like just follow the sentiment. When things are oversold, buy. When things are when things are oversold, buy. When things are overbought.
So here's a good question, because this is everyone's psychology. If Bitcoin was at 100,000 right now, do you think you'd be worrying as much about this, like as a human? Because Marathon would be probably at $30 or something, right?
I don't know about that. It got close to 99 and Marathon didn't get to 30. I mean, it did ride up.
That's a good point.
Remember, there's a huge dislocation from the underlying price of the asset that's backing this thing and the real value. It's not a one-to-one, So in my opinion, it's like a floor thing. Explain how bondholders win when the price goes up after they shorted. Isn't it that their losses are just capped? So here's the thing. That is very true, but that's also why they're basically securing their top. So they're not letting it appreciate significantly. And if it does appreciate significantly, they play this whole thing again and just say to MicroStrategy, hey, here's more money. Get me a higher premium, and there you go. Now the game starts all over.
So hold on, let's break that down. The convertible note was at 670 strike, 55% premium from when MicroStrategy got it. You're saying the debt issuers don't want it to go above 670 in a short period of time. Why? Why don't they want it to get to the call price?
Because it would blow up this fun that they're having with their short positions. They're making money on the short too, bro. That's what I'm trying to say to you. They are making money. Whether this thing goes up or down, they're making money. The only thing is they don't want it to go too far down and they don't want it to go too far up. That's the thing. Okay. Now here's the thing. Eventually this trade will collapse on itself. I don't know when that is. I don't see an end point to it, but look at what happened. That should, like, MicroStrategy went up 400. What is it? What price that they do in ATM? Where basically they sold a whole bunch of shares and it brought the stock back down again, and they acquired more Bitcoin.
Oh, that was at like 540-ish roundabout.
So look at that. Look at where MicroStrategy is now. I'm telling you, this fucking game, I'm still trying to understand it. So don't listen to me, guys. Do your own research. Okay, look this stuff up. It's not me. This is what I'm seeing. Okay, and I'm just saying a lot of work to
understand this, because this is complex financial stuff that they're doing.
This is very, very complex. Let me just show you the chart, what it looks like.
Oh, real quick, before you show that, this is a question Thomas had. Does MicroStrategy have a moat?
I mean, MicroStrategy's moat is that they have a crap ton of Bitcoin.
But is that a moat? Is that a real moat in your opinion?
I mean, having so many Bitcoin is a moat, right? I don't know. It's just here's my fear. Okay, my fear is. And this is another thing that we also have to consider. If the price of Bitcoin drops far enough, that's going to force these bondholders to basically buy and cover their shorts, and the stock will go higher again. Because the thing is, if it falls too far, too fast, it'll blow up the fucking trade.
Dude, this is one of the most craziest experiments in finance.
Yeah, the one thing is, the bondholders don't want the assets, okay? They want to be able to fuck with the volatility and make money, okay? That's what they want. The volatility is where they make money. The moat is their first stop for people wanting these bonds. You'd rather MSTR be your counterparty than Mar. I guess. It's
kind of like Nvidia's moat is that you want their chips over Amazon's chips. You want MicroStrategy's Bitcoin exposure over Mara's Bitcoin exposure. That's their moat, I guess.
Okay, so the way that I could best explain it, and the strategy that works with people who are Bitcoin maxis, is that you should see MicroStrategy go like this. Like, well, it's opposite. So I'm gonna go. It's like this, like that. Okay, and the thing is, it's not gonna go in a straight line. It's gonna probably like waffles up and down, up and down, up there. So I would say, I know some people are saying, Kris, you're giving us the bull case. The problem is, when you have this
bear case is simple. If Bitcoin collapses, that's the bear case. I mean, at its core.
that is the bear case. The problem is there's also going to be a lot of pressure not to let it collapse.
Right. Which is where the volatility, that's why the option sellers are juiced up on these premiums.
Yeah.
And
so I know, so I was looking at it, and like someone described the best strategy to mess with this thing is when this thing gets oversold, sell some goddamn puts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get a fuck ton in premium because all the volatility, right? And you're also going to be getting a lot of security because if the stock price drops too much, it could impact the bondholders, in which case now they're going to be rushing to cover a lot of their short positions. Okay. So the goal here is just keep selling puts on this thing and enjoy the volatility. And same thing with, I don't know, man, you really need to get a hedge. Like, I don't know, reach out into your network. Get someone who works at a hedge fund that does this quantitative.
I don't think they're going to be able to talk about it. We're like, I can't give you secrets.
If you can get, well, the thing is, some people are going to be willing to openly talk about this. Okay.
Yeah.
I am not the guy that you want to talk to about this 100%. I'm trying to understand it myself. What little I understand, I'm trying to bring to you guys. Okay. What I can tell you is there is a floor price and there's a ceiling price, and that floor and ceiling price is moving around. Okay. It's not like, this is the floor, this is the top, this is what it should be from now until the end of time. No, it's more like, hey, this is the short, this is the floor price, this is the ceiling price as of right now, based on the current price of Bitcoin, the number of Bitcoin this company is holding, and the amount of risk that's out there in case this thing, and also the terms of the bond offering, like what kind of covenants are in there. So it's kind of like a in-between kind of thing. So I don't know if you have that.
Where do you think Bitcoin goes by Thanksgiving?
I have no clue, bro. I have no clue. Bitcoin is one of those things that's it moves based on sentiment rather than just pure math. So I don't know. I really don't know. Eventually, and this is something that everyone keeps saying, is that MicroStrategy is going to collapse because people are going to just short MicroStrategy, long Bitcoin. Okay. And basically they're going to make money on the arbitrage between the disconnect.
Yeah, but if Bitcoin keeps going up, those shorts are going to get burnt. If they are long Bitcoin, right?
No. See, that's the part that we have to be careful with. Remember, MicroStrategy is trading at a significant premium to the current price of Bitcoin.
I get that, but that premium, I feel like the people that are buying MicroStrategy, they don't care. They will keep buying it at the premium, right? Like, we've seen that already this year. So if Bitcoin goes to 150,000, theoretically, MicroStrategy should be worth maybe only $200, right? Even lower than it is today. But we know people are going to buy it back in. Otherwise, why would it even be at 500 right now?
But that's what I'm saying, that there's such a huge premium, man. That's the key. You don't know. This is where I'm telling you, you need someone who can help you with this.
That's a good point. It's good. Like, if they're trading at a 10x net asset value premium, is that reasonable? Like,
no, fuck no.
So is 5x reasonable right now?
That's what I'm saying. No one really knows, man. Like,
this is the coolest thing ever and the scariest thing ever. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, and then you also have an administration that's coming in that's like full of bunch of Bitcoin maxis. So you take that into consideration. So it's like kind of like, okay, well, then what's the directionality of this thing? So I don't know, man. This is you really hold on. Good point, Kris. I don't know, man. Just please, for the love of God, you have enough of an audience. If you're here in the audience and you want to try to explain this thing, please come on and try to explain it. Because
I'm gonna try to reach out. I have a couple friends who work at hedge funds. One of them I went to college with. I don't know if he can come on and talk about, but a lot of these guys, dude, it's so private because they're doing such sensitive things.
Ask them to explain to you two things. Is this delta or is this gamma? That's it. Just ask them that. Like, this whole thing that's happening with Mara right now, is it delta or is it gamma? Or is it both? Okay. And do the research on that. I also think there's plenty of people on Twitter that are like MicroStrategy maxis. I think I got to reach out to them, and then maybe you and I both can challenge that video. Them. So what's his name? APTYP. The thing that I sent that to Amit, actually.
Yeah, I watched.
That's what That's what I'm basing a lot of this on, because remember, you want to have someone who works in this industry. Clip your nails. Yeah, I do have to clip my nails. They're not that long. What are you talking about, bro? I got to defend myself against the alley cats. So
Chris is like, when I'm up $1 trillion on Marathon, I don't need to clip my nails. No, but this video right here, it's a 40-minute video. It goes in depth on MicroStrategy. People can watch it. Yeah, it is a lot of financial engineering going on right now.
The part that scares me, Amit, is not that MicroStrategy is doing it, but you're starting to see these small ass companies who
Rumble.
are even not just Rumble, dude. Rumble's at least has $1 billion on the balance sheet or something like that. There's this one company. Which one did I send it? Did I send it to you? It was like some kind of. Hold on, let me tell you which one. It's like this one farm. I think it's a pharma company or a healthcare company.
It's that's
doing
MLR,
this.
right? The medical one.
Yes, yeah. I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
But they've been doing this since March, Chris. They've been in this for a while.
I know, but they're doing it even more, man. This is what I'm saying. That like, look, it's when one person does it, it's great. When two people do it, it's good. When everyone does it, it's a fucking bubble. Okay, that's the problem. Look at this thing. So
they saved their stock up 30% this year because of Bitcoin.
I'm telling you,
is this our big? Is this our big short moment? Is this our big short moment in front of everyone?
No, it's not big short, bro. I don't know. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is, man. This is just. But I will say this: it's fucking scary, dude. Because there are players out there with billions of dollars just manipulating this thing. Okay, and they're manipulating either to the upside or to the downside. We don't know. There's no fundamentals to this. There's no like, oh, MicroStrategy makes X amount of money, and that's why we should value it. I know some people are saying, well, look at the Bitcoin yield that they have, and based on the Bitcoin yield, we should value, MicroStrategy utilizing that phantom EPS. It's like this is, and I don't want to invoke Enron, but bro, this is some Enron level shit. You know?
It was the number 4 traded stock in the United States of America. Or I think this might be globally. I'm not sure. But the point is, we don't know who's like, what if there's some billionaires in fucking Singapore that are messing around with MicroStrategy, right? Like, this could be a global phenomenon that is happening. I don't think it's anything near like the housing bubble or anything, but
bro, I like I said, I'm scared as shit to deal with this. I'm trimming some of my position because I want to make sure that if this thing does implode, I'm nowhere fucking near it. Okay.
Now, granted, hold on. Just to be fair, when you initially wanted to buy MicroStrategy calls back in early 2023 on finance junkies, you didn't do it. And that was the time to do it, right? You would have been up more than 3,000%.
Yeah.
Now the volatility of Bitcoin is getting you scared. And I think the fear is coming from the premium that MSTR is trading at right now versus back then. Correct?
It's not so much that, it's the freaking manipulation, bro. It's the manipulation of the markets that's scaring the crap out of me. Because I could understand a few convertible bond offerings here and there, but these guys are doing this like almost every other month now.
Yeah.
And then Saylor's like, oh, I want to buy $42 billion of fucking Bitcoin. It's like, what? You want to take on how much debt and then base your entire strategy based on that? Like,
so again, it comes down to, is Saylor right about Bitcoin? That's it. Because if Bitcoin goes to 200,000, no one cares.
Bro, this is where I don't know. All of this, it's all theoretical at this point. Okay. Remember, even what Mark Meldrum is saying is complete BS too. If it could be BS, not that it is BS, but it could be BS too, and that you could always have this infinite money glitch going up all the time for the rest of eternity. I don't know. There are times as a good investor, you have to say, I don't know. And I'm gonna invoke that right now and say, I have no fucking clue. Okay. I'm not smart enough to figure out this thing. All I know is be cautious. Nothing, if you look at the history of anything, nothing lasts forever. Okay. So I'll go there.
Well, I think Saylor thinks Bitcoin is going to last. Well, here's the thing. What do you think? Let's say Bitcoin goes to 150, then it comes back down to 70.
Bro, what if it goes to 1 million? What if it goes to 18 million?
Oh, I'm just saying, like, how is he going to make bondholders happy if we have another drawdown like we did in 2021? And how long is he going to raise more convertible debt at that time and buy even more Bitcoin?
No, No, because by that time, the Bitcoin guys who have this convertible debt, they'll be covering their short positions. I mean, that's what I'm trying to tell you. That there's got to be so much upward pressure as this thing goes down. Like right now, there are people who are making money as MSTR is going down. Okay, they shorted the stock; it's coming down right now, so they're making money. Eventually, they're gonna say enough is enough. It's time to cover those shorts, and MSTR is gonna go back up again. And then what are they going to do? They're going to reload those shorts coming down. And they're going to play this volatility, dude. They're going to play this volatility.
Well, if you're in these two stocks, MSTR and Mara, I guess you have to worry about this. If you're not, then you just sit back and enjoy the ride.
Look, there's no such right now. If you're looking at like the balance sheet of MSTR and as a business, bro, there is no business. Okay, this is all just Michael Saylor has, quote unquote, to him, figured out an unlimited supply of people willing to buy, to give him money to buy Bitcoin. And that's what he's doing. He's just buying Bitcoin. Okay. I don't know what the price of Bitcoin is going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever. It's all about how much he can convince people to get into this thing. Now, if you want to buy Bitcoin, you believe in Bitcoin, my suggestion, and it's probably not even a good suggestion, but it's just to buy the Bitcoin itself. Don't fuck around with these leveraged bullshits up and down and try to fuck around with the options. If you like Bitcoin, you love Bitcoin, and you believe that Bitcoin is going to get to where it needs to go eventually, just buy fucking Bitcoin. Call it a day. Don't try to mess around with these weird instruments that these guys are basically like fucking around with, dude. So
and that's not you originally saying that. I mean, everyone who's a Bitcoin maxi has been saying all this shit is stupid, just get into Bitcoin. It's the people that want leverage, which apparently there's $100 billion worth of people that care about that are getting into MSTR.
Now, you know who's making a fuck ton of money right now? MSTY. Okay, because they're essentially using this volatility to juice up their dividends and basically just sell options right now. All right. Have you seen?
They sell puts and calls and give. Well, they have a 72% dividend yield.
Dude, they gave out last month. They had a fucking $4 dividend, dude. And that's a $4 monthly dividend because that's how much they generated from that shit.
But again, that's great, but that depends on the success of, it kind of,
no,
right?
It doesn't. That's what I'm saying. It's all about the volatility. Because the month before that, they only got $1 from the volatility.
Oh, so it's very inconsistent, you know.
It's very inconsistent. There's no like, oh my God, you're gonna get 100% return every year. It's just, I don't know, bro. This is, and I know some people are buying a ton of MSTY right now, and they're like showing off their dividend. I'm looking at it. I'm just like, you know what? This year has been like, I started off the year thinking I was a genius. I got into these like carnival positions, and I really did well this year. Okay, like I did really, really well. You know how well I did. And then you got like TJ and you got Garcia, and they're just doing so well. And I'm like asking myself, I was like, man, I thought I was the smart kid in the classroom. Turns out I'm just the average dude right now.
You didn't bet on Palantir.
I didn't bet on Palantir. Yeah. So everyone who got in,
selling, like even TJ last Friday, he showed he got an MSTR put for 270. He's getting 8% on that thing. And we're not anywhere near 270. Maybe we get there. But like the point is, he's right. That's his bread and butter, riding the volatility. And he's doing very well just by doing that. Right?
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like there are times where you're going to feel stupid that you missed out on things, you know, and right now I feel dumb for missing out on a lot of things. But I mean, then again, the way that it's almost like it's such a weird feeling because it's like I only made 400%. You know what I mean? Like what the I shouldn't be sad at that.
That's bull market shit, though. That's bull market. Like in 2022, you're lucky if you make 15%, right? So.
Exactly.
Okay, so last question for you: is 2025 going to be a bull market or not?
Bro, I have no clue. But in my opinion, without knowing all the Trump policies, how they get enacted, what they get enacted, right now everything is going to be rhetoric. Because I mean, a lot of the stuff that he's saying, it may not even come to pass. You know, like here's an example. We're going to put a 25% tariff on Mexico, Canada, and China if they don't stop illegal aliens and migrants and drugs from coming into the country. Okay? He said that. Now, the thing is, what if China said tomorrow, you know what? You're right, Donald. We got you. Mexico said the same thing. There's no need for tariffs then, right? And the tariffs don't go through. So now all of a sudden, all the people saying, well, the tariffs are going to increase inflation. Well, you were wrong because the tariffs never went in place, you know? So this is one of those things that you have to really like let things happen. I think the first 100 days of this new administration are going to be something that we have to be very closely in tune and watch out for. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think a lot of people are going to say, oh, Donald Trump is dumb. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's an idiot. Bro, he's surrounded by some of the smartest people in the freaking world, okay, when it comes to economics and commerce. All right. You think that their object is, yeah, I want higher inflation and I'm going to make money. No, their goal is to basically seal the deal for Donald and get him to where he is. The one thing I've noticed about Donald Trump is that he will listen to the people when he needs to and put in the experts in their place as he needs to. So right now with this whole inflation narrative, I don't think he is going to enact things that are going to result in more inflation, because that would mean that that's a broken promise. The one thing you really have to give Trump a lot of credit for is that he's not about broken promises to you as the people. He definitely breaks promises to his counterparties, though. Do you know the story behind how Trump like messed around with a whole bunch of like one of his contractors? Like he never does a deal where you come out ahead.
Yeah, I've heard them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so in the context of tariffs, you think right now they're used as a bargaining chip. Markets were down yesterday when the tariff news came out. Now markets kind of don't care. Do you think markets are waiting and seeing until if it actually matters or not?
Well, I mean, this is the part that is really like messing with me a little bit. I was telling my wife today. I was like, she's like, "What are you stressed about?" I said, "Well, I don't know what the next administration, how it's gonna pan out, because you have all this cut in government spending, quote unquote, that's going to happen because of Doge. That's super deflationary. Okay.
Right,
if government is going to stop spending money, that's good. But then if you put in tariffs, that's inflationary. So does it net? Does it cancel each other out? I don't know. Now this is where you have to go into, Milton Friedman and figure out like, okay, is what Milton Friedman said 100% true, which is everything is about government spending. Okay, there is no such thing as inflation without government spending. When governments spend more money than they take in and they spend a lot of it, that's inflationary. Okay, if the government cuts back on it, inflation is gone. Okay, it doesn't matter if like all the bullshit that they try to say, like, oh yeah, if you put tariffs, the price of eggs is going to go up and that's going to cause inflation. None of that shit matters. All that matters is the government spending more money or less money. And that is what's going to end up causing or decelerating inflation. That's Milton Friedman saying that, not me. Okay, I'm just saying that's what he said. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think it's really fair, and I think a lot of people are ultimately trying to figure out what this administration looks like. All right, that's Bitcoin 93. So basic thesis by you is be cautious if you're in any of the Bitcoin proxies because you just have no idea how it plays out.
Yeah, man, it's going to be driven more by freaking sentiment than it is going to be reality. So just be careful. I mean, if, like you said, if you like Bitcoin, you love Bitcoin, you think Bitcoin is going to get at 18 million, don't be greedy and try to say, you know what, I'm going to get a 5x because I want to do marathon options. Like, don't do it. Just buy your Bitcoin, be happy and relax. Like that's it. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Look, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, my Bitcoin proxy this whole year has been Robinhood. And I did a lot of work to try to figure out if that was a real Bitcoin proxy. I was in CleanSpark in January and I got rid of all of it because I was like, why am I taking this risk? So I kind of came to this realization and I put all that money into Robinhood. And so Robinhood's a real business. I don't like the other ones because
Robinhood makes money because every time you buy a Bitcoin ETF, you sell a Bitcoin ETF, you buy a Bitcoin, you sell a Bitcoin, all that shit. Who makes money? Robinhood does.
Yeah.
Right. So you're basically sitting on the toll bridge as people go from right to left. You're like, yeah, pay me. And they're just making money on all of that volatility. And right now there's people running across the bridge right and left at a freaking fast breakneck pace. So what does that mean? It means that Robinhood is getting that money. Right.
Yeah. So. And it's not like Robinhood doesn't have the macro risk as well. You need kind of a bull market for Robinhood to do well. But the point is, the volatility on MS, it was at 500, now it's at 3. Like that type of volatility, I don't think we've seen on things like Robinhood because they're not as contingent.
How's Hood doing today?
It's holding 37, but wait, no, it's below 37. No, it's 37.09. It's holding it, which is pretty strong right here.
Make that
I'm back.
money, man. Make that money.
All right, Kris. Thank you. Black Friday, 12 p.m. You need to be free.
I will see. I might be at my mom's. I'll let you know.
Okay, because that's
All
when Steve and I are doing the dividend fixed income holiday special. So if you're free,
Yeah, I'll see if I can join like from my mom's place, but I'll let you know. But here's my last take on this whole thing, and then they'll let you guys go. When it comes to investing, know what you're investing in terms of, hey, am I investing this because this is speculation that I think it's going to go higher based on the greater fool theory, which is the next guy is going to pay more? Or is it based on, hey, I'm investing into a solid business that's growing their revenues, and me as a shareholder, I'm getting a piece of that return? Because if you think that this is a real business that MicroStrategy is doing and Mara is doing, then fine. That's how you should approach it. But if you think this is just a speculating thing and the greater fool theory is all that's being casted here, then apply that same logic to when things get way overbought and way oversold. That's it.
all right. Love it. Thank you, Kris. We will talk to you pretty soon. Have a good Thanksgiving. Later. All right. So we got some updates on Bitcoin volatility and Marathon. And again, all those stocks kind of getting a little hit today, given that Bitcoin's at 93,000 right now. Nvidia's up a little bit. Robinhood holding 37. S&P at 599. S&P trying to get back to 6,000. So 515.74. Palantir 65.23. Amazon and Google slightly green as well. And that's pretty much it for what we got. Cole says, admit what I got from that entire segment was that put 30% of my portfolio into MSTY. Okay, I wouldn't do that. Again, MSTY, the dividends look juicy, but if MSTR collapses, maybe they don't give you those types of dividends, right? All these instruments are just like bull market phenomenons, in my opinion, because we didn't see any of this in 2021. In 2021, it was NFTs. Now, I don't think these are similar to NFTs in terms of these have value because they're leveraged against the underlying. So if Nvidia grows their revenues, NVDL goes up against Nvidia, whereas NFTs was just like nothing. But there's still things that you see in a bull market. You don't see people taking these leverage bets if the market wasn't doing well. I know you're joking. I know you're probably joking, but it's just one of those things where it's you do have people that aren't joking and that are like full port into these things. And some of them have done very well. They've massively outperformed. Like there's this guy, for example, let me show you guys this if I have it saved. There's this dude that bought a lot of MicroStrategy yesterday at 440. And, now he's down. And it's like, it sucks because like this stuff type kind of happens. I don't know if I can find the exact picture, but there was this dude who dumped like 300 grand into it, literally at 440, which was like intraday yesterday at the highest levels, and then it's down. I can't find the screenshot, but he posted it. And, it was one of those things where it was just like, it sucks, right? To see people get caught up in that. Now, MicroStrategy, hopefully if it breaks back above 440, because it was just, and his logic was probably, it was at 580, it's at 440, that's a dip. And now it's at 385, right? It's like, no one knows kind of how this goes. And then on top of that, so you have someone, buying just straight out shares. Then you have other people doing this type of shit. There was a $1 million order yesterday on MicroStrategy, 1.5 million, for a 477 call by Friday. Strike price 477, call option November 29th. 1.56 million of those, or $1.56 million of that was bought. I mean, it's just there's a lot of volatility into this game, and you could either go down or you go up, but you got to be able to stomach the volatility if you're in it, especially at these higher levels. Also, there was another screenshot. I don't know if I can find this one, but this one broke my heart yesterday. There was a dude that was in Sava. Okay. The thing where's Sava today? That turned out to be like a fraud. Sava down another 10% today. Goodness gracious. 385. Yeah, here it is. The dude lost 60 million bucks, bro. 60 million. Like you see screenshots where people lose some money and stuff on Twitter. Like, okay, whatever. I saw this. I had to like keep refreshing. I was like, is this real? He still has 11 million of it. Now 10 million because he's down 10% today. And he lost 60. Dude, you were down 53 million in a day, 82%. I mean, was the whole 80 million portfolio or 60 million portfolio inside of Sava? And look, he said, I'm holding Sava. Only hedge was I sold 3,000 calls at a $40 strike on Friday. At least he sold 3,000 calls at a $40 strike for Friday because those calls obviously went to zero and he collected the premium. But the actual underlying, it's hard, bro. It's hard to see that type of shit. Like, that is FU money. So maybe that's not his full full portfolio, right? Maybe that's just one part of it, which then I don't feel too bad. But like, dude, losing 50 million, that's tough. That is fucking tough. So the problem is, right, a lot of these things, they get super volatile, whether it's biotech or crypto derivatives, leveraged tied to underlyings. And if you make really big bets, they can go really big or they can go really bad as well. And I think the people that made money in MicroStrategy at the beginning of the year, they're the ones that made a lot of good money. Now people are trying to catch up and, make some money on the catch up. And the question is, do you get mustard instead of ketchup? You know what I mean? Like that's, you know what I mean? That's, I don't want to say that was good, but I think that was kind of good. That's going to be the question. That's going to be the question. Dude, that was good. How are you guys saying no? That was a good one. That was good. Samir says time to go, time to end the stream. All right, it's time to end the stream. That joke was so bad. That was not bad, dude. Ketchup versus mustard. By the way, mustard, disgusting. Same thing with mayo. No one. I don't know if I told you guys, my hatred for mustard it's not up there with mayo, but it's in top 5. I'm not a mustard guy. Not a mustard guy. Just ketchup and barbecue in little amounts. You can't overthrow it with a lot of ketchup. It's the condiment is supposed to be just a light thing on the meal. It's not supposed to be flooded into the meal. That's when it ruins everything. Also ranch. I don't like ranch either. And blue cheese. Ranch, blue cheese, mustard, and mayo. And then I'll think of Chipotle mayo or whatever, or spicy mayo they put on sushi. Like, nah, bro. Give me the soy sauce. That's it. Give me the soy sauce. All right. I think that's it. That joke was so funny. I forgot to laugh. We'll be back at 3:45 for the market close. We've got a lot of earnings after the bell. We've got CrowdStrike. That's a big one. So we'll be taking a look at that. We got Dell, we have HP, we have Workday, Autodesk, and Nutanix, all 6 very, very important companies. Also, Iran, Bitcoin miner, Iran Energy. They're going to be reporting Iris Energy, ticker symbol IREN. And those companies are going to have a ton of results, have implications on the semiconductor space, the cybersecurity space. Dell and HP with their servers around GPUs are important. Workday with the software stack, is that growing? It's a software company. And then CrowdStrike, they're almost back to all-time highs. Does the market think the growth is not good enough to justify it? Or does the market think that scenario in September or July didn't matter and CrowdStrike's off to the races? Palo Alto did fall after a double meet. They're also in the same space with cybersecurity. So CrowdStrike will be an important one to see after the bell today as well. All right. That is it. Zocol says, I don't think you hate mayo as much as my wife. Well, I'm happy there's more people that are part of the movement. There should always be people part of the movement. Hood is tanking. Where's Hood? If Hood's tanking, I might buy more today. Unlike Steve, I actually buy. I didn't want to call out Steve on that, but it's like he sends me so much DD on Ripple. And then when I ask him how much does he have, it is like very insignificant. And I'm like, why are you so obsessed with this if you're not like going to buy this thing, And then he gets mad if I'm not buying it. I'm like, well, you're not buying it either. So like, if I'm going to follow someone, I'm going to follow if you actually buy it. I'm not just going to buy it because you send me all these Instagram reels about it. All right, if Robin gets to 36.50, I'm buying another 100 shares. I will let you guys know. If we get to 36.50, you guys know by the market close, I will buy another 100 shares on Robin. Okay, word of the day. What's word of the day? Word of the day. This is an interesting one. You guys, I don't even know what your reaction is going to be to this one. Do you like the white sauce from Mediterranean restaurants? Okay, I do, but very light on the lamb over rice. And I know there's mayo in it, but I never look at the ingredients because if I see that, I won't eat it. But I just assume there's no mayo in the white sauce. I just assume there's no mayo. I assume it's sauce that's white. That's it. And it's very little. No one tell me there's mayo in there because I kind of already know it, but I don't want to be reinforced with that. So I just assume there's no mayo in it. All right. Gobbledygook is the word of the day.
Gobbledygook.
Gobbledygook. Can you guys hear it? Hold on. I didn't hear it. Did it say it? No, I didn't say it.
Gobbledygook.
Okay. Gobbledygook. Language that is usually hard to understand. The contract was filled with so much gobbledygook that I could barely figure out what I was saying. I tried to read the instructions, but the technical jargon was all gobbledygook. I think I've heard this one before. You guys have heard it, right? I feel like it's similar to gibberish. Like when someone's saying, oh, that's filled with gibberish. It's a bunch of gobbledygook. I feel like, oh my God, at the comments, dude, this is ridiculous. I'm not even going to read the comments. I'm not even going to read them, or I'm reading them. I'm not going to say them out loud. But gobbledygook, I think MicroStrategies, whatever they're doing right here, is a bunch of gobbledygook, but there might be some actual underlying logic behind it, even if it's hard to understand. So gobbledygook is language that is hard to understand, not the language that's nonsense. So maybe everything going on with the convertible notes around MicroStrategy is gobbledygook, but there is a way to understand it. There you go. That's what we got. All right. Thank you, everybody. 3:45. Big earnings after the bell. I'll be back, and we will keep going from there. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. See you guys later.